There we are, and we should be live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to For the Minions, the weekly show where we talk about Predecessor, Overprime, and Ethereal. And we got a lot to talk about this week, as both Predecessor and Overprime had patches. We haven't seen the patch in effect yet for Predecessor, but we have seen the patch notes. It's kind of interesting that they both went the opposite way with mages. And yeah, I think it's also important before we really dig into these today that if you didn't see something changed in these patch notes that you wanted to see changed, it's important to note that they've only been out for a little bit. It seems like they've been out for a long time. Both games are early access. Both games have only been out for a short while. So give them some time. I'm sure if it's really that important, they'll get to it. But I'm your host, the Mangoose. Joining me, as always, is my friend and co-host, Jelly Knees. How you doing, Jelly?
I am fantastic, Mangoose. Happy to be here. And yeah, I think you touched on a great note that this is the first or second major patch for both of these games, right? Like that this is not by any means like extensive patches on patches on patches on patches. So it's really interesting to see where they're going, what they're prioritizing and stuff. And I think there's some things that are good and bad for both sets of patch notes. But with us, we've got the Viking Jedi as always as well. Welcome back, Viking Jedi.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I also am really excited. And I love that you guys started off the show talking about how new both games still are and that this is like the first real big patch that we have for both. So, and they're meaty patches. Like, I think that there's a lot that both dev teams came into swing in for, whether good or bad, we'll kind of get into that, I think. But, I am the Viking Jedi. You are awesome.
Don't take my shit. Don't take my shit.
How are you, Mangoose? What's your week been like?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Anyway, let's move into the patch notes for Predecessor. Shut up.
At least you don't sound dead anymore. Like when he got in, guys, like we did a couple early games today and he woke up a little bit late. Yeah, and he was like, hey guys,
yeah, then
I only got a couple in me today. And I was like, dang, dude, like were you smoking while sleeping? Like what the heck is going on?
Yeah, I woke up into people tryharding on the Faye mid lane in quick match. Like fuck that.
Oh boy. He was not
all right.
happy.
So Predecessor patch notes, we got quite a bit of them to go through here. So Revenant is finally here. They kind of reworked mages a little bit. They did a few other balance changes, and then they changed quite a few of the items. So we're going to go through all of it today. So the new hero appears, Revenant. So we finally get to see his kit. So his passive, this is about the only thing that we really weren't too aware of. Revenant starts with a rank in Hellfire rounds. So you always start out with your right click. One rank of that. He does not shoot faster with attack speed, but does gain 5% critical strike chance, increased total physical power. When Revenant kills an enemy hero, he will gain 50 plus 25 per bounty stack additional gold. So even if they're not in the Shadow Realm when he kills them, he still gets additional gold off of kills.
Which is wild.
Yeah, any thoughts?
I think that by itself is kind of an insane ability. So this gave me some questions though. Revenant starts with a rank in Hellfire rounds. That's his right click. Totally fine. Where was it? Was it on this ability? Maybe it was on a different one.
Maybe it'll be actually on his right click.
Okay, maybe it's changed. I feel like it was different. There was something on here about like stacking that was not defined before that I was confused about. Oh, no, there it is.
It does, yeah, it says plus 20 per bounty stack, but it doesn't tell you how to get bounty stacks.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's just whenever you kill somebody, you get a bounty stack, maybe?
I would assume, I'm going off of based on Countess, that they're going to do unique hero kills stacks.
Oh, I was thinking because they have a bounty system in the game, right? So if you get a kill on somebody who has a bounty, you get plus 25 per whatever they're like the stacks of the bounty on that champion.
I guess that's possible.
That was what I thought it was. So it was like an additional bonus gold but
would be insane. So
his hyper scaling is going to be nuts. Like he's going to be a hyper carry.
If that is the case, that the killing characters with bounties on them benefits him by adding more gold per stack of bounty. If they have 400 gold, let's say that's 4 stacks. We don't know really how their bounty system works. It's not really well defined anywhere that I've seen. But that's an extra 100 gold plus the 50 he's already getting, plus the 400 he's already getting off of them. That's 650 gold off of a single kill. This guy.
Forrest is confirming it. He said it's like what I said. It's tied to the bounty system.
Okay.
That's wild.
Yeah, I wish that was way more clearly defined, because plus bounty stack and the ability is called Bounty Hunter. I feel like it could be explained a little better, but now that makes more sense.
Right. Heard it here first on FTM.
All right. Well,
I think him getting gold from his passive, just period, instead of from his ultimate, is a wild change.
I personally like
feast or famine on Revenant.
But to me, that's the kind of AD carry that I've always thought he was, and this just makes it like inbred in his kit. And at least from paper, right? I like the way that it sounds. Obviously, we'll see how it goes in game, like how fast Revenants are just hardcore, taking over games. It also kind of means though that Revenant is never really out. He's kind of he's kind of like a ticking time bomb in the sense that it's like you're not really going to keep him out of the game. Yeah, you're not really going to keep him out of the game. Eventually, he's going to be relevant just by getting the passive gold income as it goes. So I mean, it's exciting. We were concerned, or not concerned, maybe had the question marks of what the passive was going to be. I kind of like it personally. It's gonna be wild though. Like it's gonna definitely make him like I think Jelly hit the nail on the head, feast or famine, at least early, right? If you get lots of gold quick, just game's over.
I guess I shouldn't say feast or famine. I should say feast or waiting to feast. Like, it's not, because he doesn't lose anything. He just only gains every time he does something. He'll be the Draven of Predecessor, right?
That's fair. Yeah.
If he gets kills, he will be unstoppable. Congratulations, you just lost the game.
Draven's a good one to use. I was thinking more of like Gangplank, where Gangplank doesn't really lose. It just takes time for him to come on because he's always passively earning money. Yeah, he's going to be strong.
And this kind of ties in too with another change that they made, which is a creep score bounty. So not only do you get a kill streak bounties put on you, you get a creep score if you're really high on creep score as opposed to the rest. And I'm assuming that this bounty will also apply to a creep score bounty because it's just
yeesh.
Yeah.
You actually touched on my favorite thing. Actually, I was really excited to see that because that's one of my favorite things that they added in League of Legends. I like that it's like, hey, you are going up. Let's say you unfortunately got drafted into a losing matchup, right? And the guy that you're up against is just a farm champion all day long, but you finally hit your spikes. And he oversteps, he overthinks he's got it, and you can collect on that bounty, or you get that crucial gank to come into your lane. I think it's super valuable. I think it's gonna, as far as like income, both these changes, I mean, having him in and the creep score bounty is going to put a lot more money into the game, which means the items are going to come online a little bit faster. It might push up the pacing of the game a little bit more, and which I think will be interesting. But it's also not going to punish necessarily people who are farm heavy and want to farm. They just have to be aware that, hey, I've been farming like a monster. There might be like a target on my head now that they're going to want to come and get me, which I think is great. You know what I mean? Because there's too many champions I think sometimes feel like I'm just going to farm this out and there's nothing anybody can do about it, and there's nothing that can be punished about it either. So this I think it's one of my favorite changes that they added in personally. So I'm excited to see what it does.
I think this passive on Revenant does give them a nice tuning knob for him. If he is a little overpowered, just tune back that gold a little bit. If he's underpowered, then give him a little more gold. I don't know. I think it'll probably be fine. But his Q ability, Obliterate. The effect, Revenant unleashes 10 ethereal missiles that home in and hit random targets within a wide cone, dealing however much bonus physical power and 75% magical power. So he has both bonus and magical power scaling on this, with the magical power scaling being a little more pronounced. But it does deal physical damage per missile. Landing subsequent hits against enemy heroes deals 15% damage. So the more missiles you hit each time with Obliterate, the more damage the next one's going to do. So if you do catch somebody outside of a minion wave, go ahead.
I don't think that's what it's saying. I
hope not.
I think it's unclear. I don't think it's 15% additional damage. I think it's subsequent hits are dealing only 15% damage.
Oh, okay.
It's a cap, not a increase.
Oh, thank God, because I was thinking, holy shit, you'll just get
again. I think it's
one shot by Obliterate.
Really defined in the ability, but I think that's what it is.
Okay, maybe Horace can come in and clear that up as well.
Well, speaking of horse, he did throw another comment in there. He said, needless to say, Revenant has disadvantages to other carries, and Bounty really ramps up when behind. When ahead, he gets only 50 additional gold on kills, which I think is fair from that perspective. But yeah, the obliterate stuff is a little weird.
Win ahead. Win ahead. He's only getting 50 because he's theoretically killing the enemies.
Right.
He's claiming their bounties.
Sure.
But if somebody's going and getting a creep bounty somewhere else and then shows up, he can still gain that advantage even if he's ahead. Right? Like it doesn't negate that just because he's ahead already. Doesn't mean he's not going to keep getting those additional things with the creep bounties also in the game.
It also puts a lot of pressure, I think, given that he gains that, just like with Draven, you want him to get the kill. Like you do not want your support stealing that kill, because that stack, I can already see the all caps spelled rage of an 80 carry because somebody stole the kill that would have given him huge stacks and given him like all kinds of gold income and all that stuff. So there's gonna be some shenanigans there.
Everybody get your brooms.
Come in with the correction for you guys.
Oh, did it?
So it is 50. It's a cap on damage on subsequent.
Oh, thank God. Thank God. Good. All right, now his secondary ability, Scar. This is his E effect. Revenant launches a dark projectile that marks the first enemy targeted hits, dealing a bunch of damage, physical damage, and applying a scar that lasts for 5 seconds. The next instances of damage dealt to this target by Revenant apply 5% stacking slow for 1.25 seconds and deal 15% bonus magical damage. So now not only are you dealing more damage to somebody you hit with Scar, but you're also applying a slow to them, which is can only be good for Revenant.
I think the interesting thing with this ability is it doesn't. So the Scar lasts 5 seconds, and then the next 6 to 10 instances of damage, right? Apply a stacking slow when they're done by Revenant. That can be obliterate. So you E and obliterate, and then just 10 stacks slow somebody.
Yeah,
because he's got 10 missiles. So if they're by themselves and he EQs, that's going to be a 50% stack, 50% slow for a 1.25 seconds, and they're taking 15% additional bonus magic damage. Yikes.
Yeah.
That's just a lot in one moment. And I realize that's only if they're alone, right? That you can get all 10 out very, very quickly.
Yeah, no minions or any of that stuff.
I also am a little concerned at how much that his damage is kind of being mixed. Right, he's not just he's going to be a basic attack carry through and through. His Q does physical damage, his E does physical damage, except for the part where his E does 15% additional magic damage on hits. So now he can do both damage types in a single ability. Because again, at least the way
that has it
I'm
too.
understanding this,
it has 75% magical power.
Yeah, but it does physical damage.
It does physical damage. It scales with magical power.
So if I wanted to go AP Revenant, I could still be
Q does more damage.
Yeah.
Yes. But it's still physical damage.
Which is the way he was in Paragon. People either built him for AP or AD, and it just mattered which. The AD, I think, the crit damage Revenant was a little more was stronger in Paragon, but the AP was much easier to use for new people.
But to me, then with that E Scar, if he lands the full obliterate on somebody, now that obliterate is doing 15% of its damage or 15% bonus damage as magic damage on top of all the physical damage. So he's going to be able to apply both damages in a single ability. And that concerns me because that can very quickly get hairy with carries already doing mixed damage, a lot of mixed damage in Predecessor. This gets very concerning very fast. It's a slippery slope.
His alternate ability is R&B Hellfire rounds. Revenant's fourth shot always critically strikes, as well as dealing 6%, 0.5% per Revenant's level of the target's missing health as bonus physical damage. Revenant's critical bonus damage is modified to 125, 130. It's just his crit multiplier goes up or you level it. So yeah, that fourth shot, it's always hit hard, and it's going to hit hard here. And especially if the target's already low, it's you're going to see a lot of people getting surprised by that fourth shot, just deleting the rest of their health bar.
Yeah, absolutely. We already see that in Paragon the Overprime. So I mean, it's just going to be another instance here, honestly. The thing, before we move on to his ultimate, I have two things that I just thought of. One, he can build Astral Catalyst, which means he can get lower reckoning, because now he scales off of magical power with his Q. So dear God help us that we're going to get Astral Catalyst Revenant going through. But also,
maybe nobody was thinking that until you put it into their head. Again, Jelly Knees, typical Jelly Knees, speaking evil.
Nice job. Nice job, Jelly.
You're going to see Revenant ults coming through every 5 seconds now because of Astral Catalyst. The other thing about this is his RMB talks about his fourth shot always critical striking, and at the active always reloading his hand cannon. If I don't know who Revenant is, I have no idea he only has 4 shots. Nothing about this ability description tells me he only has 4 shots.
Yeah, it just says that the 4th shot always critically strikes.
And that I can, there's some reload mechanic. I think if it was a normal hero, not having the left mouse button, yeah, it's basic attack, whatever, move on. Right. But with Revenant, and based on the kit that we're seeing here, I would assume he has for the 4-shot mechanic. You need to tell players that that exists. Don't let us just, the people that know, and the people that don't come in and go like, how does this work? I didn't know that this was a thing. Gotta tell people that this is a mechanic that exists on this character in these patch notes.
His ultimate ability, Reckoning the Reckoning. Revenant pulls himself and his target into the Nether Realm for 6, 7, or 8 seconds, rooting the target for 0.5 seconds. Killing his opponent inside the Nether Realm will double the bonus gold gained from Bounty Hunter. Yes, Jelly. Okay.
Double the bonus gold gained from Bounty Hunter. He gets plus 25 for every stack of bounty that they have.
Yeah.
In our example, that was an extra 100 gold plus the 50. That's 150. If he kills them in his ult, he gets 300 now. Excuse me? So plus the 400, that's 700 gold for a single kill. Man, this guy's just gonna be insane.
Yeah. If he can get those kills, again, I think we're going to see with high end, he's going to be super dangerous. Low end, you're going to see Revs ulting people so that they can just get away instead of getting killed. You know what I mean?
100%.
But yeah, he looks like he's going to be strong.
Play this Revenant.
I think it's fun that he's an economy based hero. Like his entire kit is kind of very economy focused. I think that's kind of cool. Not much different from his implementation in Paragon, which is fine. And I don't know. I think he's going to shake things up. He's going to be a fun ADC to play.
I do agree with that. I mean, and I was talking to the guys already about this, but I had hoped, right, when we talked last week, that there would be some kind of new something, right? Something sparkly and shiny to, make Revenant feel more updated and, all that stuff. Unfortunately, we didn't get it. And I'm a little bit bummed, and I kind of threw a little bit of the shade towards the devs on Twitter, and they responded wonderfully in kind. So if you guys are following me on Twitter, you can go and see the reply chain on there. It was pretty cool, though, that they're aware that they want to make updated champions, kind of like what they did with Decker, but it's just currently not feasible. They want to just get as many champions into the game as possible, as soon as possible, and but they do have some plans to go back and rework champions, some of the old champions, as needed. So it's a bit of a bittersweet thing. It's cool that that's something that they're still very much aware of, and they want to make adjustments for at some point. But I kind of had hoped it would be right now, because I'm just listen. I said this last week, but it's like, this is a new game using old game assets. I kind of want a new game that still kind of hits and touches on the beauty of the old game, still keeping the themes there that we all know and love, but just updated to today's standards. That's how I would look at it, because I would imagine I'm not alone, that even people who miss the old Paragon would love to come back to seeing their champion, but it's feels new and fresh and all that stuff, and it's exciting to kind of relearn a kit, versus right now it feels like if you played Revenant back in the day, you're going to take maybe 3 or 4 games and you're going to be right back where you were, and you're going to be popping off and all that stuff. And while that might be fun, I think that people do sometimes crave a challenge, having something to kind of learn and grow with. And so I had hoped, I think you were one who talked about that when you were relearning Decker, that having all the new buttons to press kind of was exciting and fun, because it just was different. It was something new to who she was. And so
I think that doesn't apply to everybody, though. A lot of people just want Paragon back in its completely original form with zero changes whatsoever. So
I know. I get that, and I respect it too. I'm not one of those guys.
Yeah, neither am I. Move on to major improvements here: profile tab and early access icons. So we now have a profile tab, so you can change your icons around. It's a small update, but necessary, and it's another step towards them becoming more of a complete game. So this is really good to see. Creep score bounties. We already discussed this a little bit more. Basically, it's if you get ahead in a kill streak, you get an extra gold bounty placed on your head. So if somebody kills you, they get that extra gold. Well, they're going to be doing the same thing if somebody is significantly ahead of everyone else in creep score. So we already talked about it a little bit. You guys have any thoughts on the creep score bounties?
Again, I just think it's a good thing to add. I think this lets you show your priority in lane of what you were doing. You didn't necessarily get kills, but you farmed the hell out of your lane and pulled ahead in that regard, right? But it's not so much so that if you just stomped out the other team, there's no way for them to get back in the game.
This was my favorite system change, right? Like, I think that some of the balance changes are really cool, and some of the quality of life stuff that they're going to be adding are also really neat. But this one, at least as far as like a system in game that we're going to start feeling immediately, I was really excited because I think it'll help again with the economy, boosting players to get item unlocks a little bit sooner or unexpectedly, and that's going to change the way the game feels. Unless it's just a chimera getting to take advantage of every single gank because he can just do whatever he wants in the game, and you can't do anything about it, and he just takes over more because he gets more gold from killing people who are just farming.
This next change I think is really, really good. New post match screens. We're adding 2 post match screens in this update. The first is a screen that will allow you add players after a match. Why not start grouping up with some teammates that you enjoyed playing with after a great game? The other new screen is a post match statistics screen, allowing you to dive deep juicy statistics from the last match. This is huge. This is something we've really been wanting, and we're finally getting it. Is because right now it's either victory or defeat, and then back to the landing page.
Count leveling, and that's it.
Yeah. So this is really good.
I do want to draw our attention to one of the juicy stats that's on this. Revenant did 40,000 damage and nobody else broke 10k except Feng Mao. And then the screen below, they show the names of people. Like there's a part of me that wants to believe like this was a bot match that they took Revenant into, and they're like teasing bots, right? Because bots are notoriously terrible, and Revenant just went in there and smashed the game. No problem. Fine. 40,000 damage, move on. But then they have all the names in the next slide down, and I'm like, wait a second, how did you guys only do a fourth of Revenant's damage? Like, I have so many. Gideon did 455 damage to heroes. Gideon, what are you doing, my guy? Like, you gotta figure something out. That's one ability.
Well, they break it down from physical damage to heroes, magical damage to heroes, true damage to heroes. That's kind of cool.
I think this is my hope, at least, is this was one, they used this as an example, but this was one of the games where they were testing stuff out for Revenant's kit, and he was just getting to pop off basically for free.
Yeah.
That's my hope, because otherwise there's some doom on the horizon, boys.
Now that Mango's mentioned it, I did not realize it was the separation of heroes. I thought it was just damage to heroes, and I was like, that stat line is wild. What the heck? But
yeah, of course, Gideon didn't deal much physical damage to heroes. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. This is something I think they desperately needed. This is going to make the game just a little bit more fun. It's just so much fun to look at those graphs at the end of the match. Weekly leaderboards. Each week we'll be sharing a leaderboard showcasing the top 100 players. Initially, this will be shared on social media, but as we continue to develop the feature, we plan to integrate it directly into the game so the players can easily compare their rankings with others. To qualify for the leaderboard, players must compete a minimum of 10 games per week.
Nice.
I mean, this is cool.
It was a test game for those stats. I would like to clarify that Ruba was playing the Richter, who went 3-12 that game. So yeah, game, Ruba. Whatever you say,
the same thing. So I'm glad you got to it, but yeah, no, it makes sense that it was a test game. But confirmed Ruba's bad at the game.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely, yeah. Test game. Okay, Ruba, whatever you say, man. The leaderboards, I think, is a cool thing. It's gonna let those competitive players be competitive on a regular basis, and if you don't care about being competitive, you don't have to worry about it. So it's a good way of allowing both things to exist. My only concern with it is then you've got the competitive players potentially being more toxic in public matches, in just random quick play matches, because there's no separation of queues. So you could start to see more toxicity in that regard, but it will have to wait and see to know for sure.
Maybe. I think a lot of times you're going to have people that think that they're probably nowhere even close to coming to the top 100, but they're still flaming people because they think that they're holding them back from hitting that leaderboard. Like, nah, dog, you're holding yourself back.
I mean, I think I'm normally the first to be like, I don't want anything in the game that's going to add to toxicity. However, in this case, I think that you want to give people a carrot on a stick. And I think anything that's getting to showcase like, hey, these are some of your top players. What I hope we get to see is some of these top players are the beacons also. Like they're, not only really good at the game, but they're also being really good, like, advocates for the game as well, and creating a space that's awesome and exciting. So if you end up in one of those matches with those guys, they're not just flaming you because you don't aren't as good as they are. Instead, they're giving you insights, and you can be like, well, that guy's top 100. I should probably listen to what he's saying. He probably knows what the heck he's talking about. So but there absolutely is the opportunity. I just hope that more people are going to be approaching this with a sense of maturity and understand that being top 100 is absolutely super cool, and you're a badass for getting there. But not everybody else is a piece of shit because you happen to be at 101, and the guy who's at 400 or 500 happened to be in your game. Like, in general, I would just say don't be an asshole. Realize that people are hopefully trying to learn how to play the game. The other aspect of that, though, is those guys who are terrible at the game and refuse to listen to people who are better at the game, and that's a whole nother problem into itself. But it does look cool. I'm really excited, and the next one is also really interesting and exciting to see. I'm wondering how much feedback they're really going to be getting from this next section.
Yep. That is the end of match survey. We are adding a short survey at the end of the match that will require you to give us some feedback on your previous game. This data will help us monitor overall and individual community responses to matches on a daily basis, something that will help us to understand what's going on well as what we can improve. We appreciate you guys taking the time to fill this out. So the early access feedback, you see it right there. It's just a star rating that you give for your last match.
I have a ridiculously small nitpick about this screen.
Okay.
Well, 2 technically. 1, why isn't it 5 stars? Everything you see is 5 stars, so it's a little weird that it's 4.
Oh yeah, it is 4 stars. My bad.
The stars are off center, and it drives me insane.
Oh, why did you say that?
Dude, Jelly just can't help.
I really hope that they're not off center in game, because I will lose my mind.
Oh, why did you say that? Damn it, Jelly.
Red team, if you didn't know they were off center, you do now.
Jesus.
And you know what, though? You wouldn't be alone, right? There's going to be other people that are like I'm not one to notice that kind of stuff, but a lot of times I'll be looking at things I'm like, man, I don't know why that looks weird. Like my eyes are, I just blame me. I just, I'm probably dumb or something, and I'm not, but yeah. Now that you pointed it out, though, I hate you because
oh no, everyone's gonna see it forever now.
Yeah, that can't be unseen.
Okay, well, let's focus on whether or not we think it's a good idea at this point in the game, bad idea at this point, or doesn't matter, or whatever. Like, is there any?
I think initially it's a good idea, because you'll get actual meaningful feedback the first couple games that people fill this out, right? I think eventually it's going to become a nuisance where people just select 1 or 4 stars and just as quickly as possible just to get out of that menu so they can get in their next game.
I kind of wish there was a skip button or cancel or something.
Other games do is they have this feedback survey, but it's once every 10 games. It's once every 15 games. Dude, trust me, I will make sure that UI is something else. But I wish it was more sporadic than it sounds like it's going to be every single game.
Oh shit.
And And so I really hope that it doesn't alter the feedback over a longer period of time because people are just trying to click through it.
Yeah. I kind of wish it was a little bit more optional, to be honest. Like whether it pops up every game, for the next month or so, rather than like I said, if I could just hit cancel on it, and so that way I know, like, look, I don't want to do the survey anymore. I've already done it 15 times. You know what I mean? Or like a don't show me this again kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Something like that, I think would be a nice, like, quality fix. And I don't think it would be super hard to add. So feedback, there you go, guys. I don't know.
I can't believe you, Jelly.
The chat.
Okay. Since you put that in my head, Jelly, Howitzer, if you jump while you're running into lane, this is true in both Predecessor and Overprime. He looks like Steven Seagal running.
I've never evaluated Steven Seagal running enough to
take a look at it sometime. It's hilarious.
Oh my god.
Okay, so now that's in your head next time you play Howitzer.
Thanks, man.
Yep. Matchmaking improvements and bug fixes.
Let's go.
Since Predecessor launch, we've been monitoring the matchmaking system closely and have identified multiple bugs that we believe have impacted match quality. This patch brings a number of fixes to issues, and we hope to match quality as a result. So they fixed the bug where players would gain or lose large amounts of MMR after a match when the server failed to return the player's MMR. Fixed the bug where players could join a queue and incorrectly enter the wrong matchmaking bracket. I think I've done that a few times. Fixed the bug where players outside of a matchmaking bracket could be pulled into that bucket during the matchmaking process. So people were just getting matched incorrectly. People have been shouting about that for a while, and it turns out that it is true. They actually were being matched incorrectly. And they also introduced their first improvements to the matchmaking system, the party modifier. Your MMR will be inflated with the more people that you have in your party, so that it takes into account that there's probably a little bit better coordination in a team. So yeah, nice.
Yeah, as it should. Absolutely.
You would hope that that's a day one type thing, but I'm glad that it's there now. Like, it doesn't matter that it wasn't there before. It should be. It's something I think that should be in every game, especially when you don't have a competitive game where you're just in quick plays. It's just ridiculous that 5 stacks can just run around stomping on people who are in solo queue, duo queue, maybe. You know what I mean? But yeah.
Okay, they're also making improvements to the penalty systems. So for if your AFKs and your dodge penalties are going to last longer, and
they're separated now.
Yeah,
they're not one system. They're 2 separate systems with separate penalties, which I think is great.
Yeah, I got 0 problems with this.
I think my only issue is the severity creep. I kind of wish there was less options and it got severe faster.
Yeah.
Personally. I think so. Especially the AFK penalty is maybe okay. I would probably cut out the whole 2, 6, and 20 and just go straight to 24 and 48 after the hour one. Like, if you like, to me, it's like if you're 5th, 6th time doing it and you waited an hour or whatever, and it's like on a no, dude, you just don't get to play the game. You know, you're obviously causing problems. No, that's how I feel.
No, I agree.
The dodge queue penalty, I'm more okay with having a lot more tiers, because dodge, I hate dodges. I get it why people do it, but a lot of times what we're seeing, and maybe I'm crazy, but when is that someone doesn't get the role they want, they don't get the champion that they want or whatever, and so like, well, I'm just gonna leave. And for everybody else who is there and ready to play the game, even if they got a random position that they didn't necessarily want, but they just want to play the game, it does suck that you're having that. Now you're back into the loading screens, now you're back into this, now you're back into waiting, and so it does cause a disruption of where it's like, you know what, dude, this is like my 5th dodge in a row. I'm just gonna leave, and I'm not gonna play right now. Like, and I don't think I'm the only one who's experienced that before, where it's just so frustrating having people dodge because they didn't get to play Countess when Countess first came out. Countess, and they dodge, and it's like, okay, man, like, come on, bro, like, don't be. I don't know. That's my take on it. I maybe I'm ridiculous, but I kind of wish they got rid of some of the tiers, made it a little bit harsher, faster. I know it's over a long period of time, 7 and 14 days respectively, but still, it causes more disruption and frustration for people, and I don't think those people should be getting multiple chances to be able to disrupt games where other people are playing.
I agree.
Like, dodge queue 5th and 6th are the same penalty. I wonder if that's a typo or if that's intentional.
Yeah.
An hour. So if you do it after the 5th time, you do it again, you get just the same thing. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Save for AFK, second and third are both 30.
Oh, yeah. What? Yeah, that seems like if you're doing it again, that should be you should just move on. It shouldn't give you a second opportunity.
Well, let's move on now to the combating toxicity chat moderation update. Just looks like they're trying to combat toxicity a little more by imposing snowballing sanctions on people that are constantly toxic. So this is just from report people if they're extremely toxic, and hopefully their new chat moderation team will be able to take care of it. This is something that's always a problem in every MOBA, and it's something that some people will say just get a tough skin and get over it. That's like asking people not to get pissed off when somebody says terrible shit to them. Like, you're asking me to be a pussy about this? I'm not going to do that. You know what I mean? But you asked me to not get angry, but whatever. So yeah, I'm happy that they're doing this.
Me, of course, I'm very happy about it. But I think it even goes beyond just like the frustration that I might feel. I get tired, and I've been. This is the other thing. I will say that I've been this guy, but there's nothing worse than a guy who is AFK in the fountain, keyboard watering.
Oh God, yes.
Just talking shit, like, you know.
I'm gonna make more coffee. Be right back.
Yeah, just flaming whoever and doing whatever. Like, it's just like, bro, just play the game. So to me, if it removes the, you know, keyboard warrior that wants to just sit in the fountain and bitch and moan about everybody else not playing the game the way that they feel like it should be played or whatever. It's like, dude, right now, first of all, this is just quick play. There's no comp. And I get it. I get frustrated. I get mad. I get annoyed when someone's not playing to what I would consider a normal level. However, I very rarely, and I'm not trying to hold anybody to a standard that I'm not at, get in there and I'm going to disrupt the game by sitting there typing a huge paragraph to flame somebody else who's not playing the way that I should think that they should be playing or whatever. So having this in there just for that alone, to kind of limit some people spending X amount of time hardcore keyboard typing and just getting back into the game because they might get, you know, banned for it or whatever, or have, you know, some kind of sanctions against them. I think it's fine. Like, to me, it's more than enough. I think that getting rid of any toxicity in any capacity, the next thing they should iterate on is adding reward systems, like for people who are playing consistently, you know, adding in value and trying to help people and blah, 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 using the systems like chat that are in place to try and help people not cause disruptions. But for now, punishing the more toxic is I'm fine with.
Yeah, and I think this goes into what we've talked about a couple weeks ago, or maybe it was even last week, about asking Predecessor and Ometa to share what they're doing to get rid of toxicity. Not just, yep, we're handling it. Right now, this is the system that is in place. Here's the penalties. This is the system. Here are the penalties. This is the system. Here are the penalties. Right? Like, so you have a very clear understanding for both toxic and non-toxic players, have a clear understanding of what the levels are. Right. And yep, I crossed the line. I received the 10-hour ban. I reported that guy. He's going to receive the 5-minute ban, whatever it's going to be. Right. Like, you have a lot more defined areas for toxicity now that people can act on and know how to act on.
Big true. I also wish, and I don't know if it'll be present in this, but the feedback loop. If I reported somebody and I get something coming back like, hey, a player you reported was found to be disrupting the game or doing whatever, and some action has been taken. Oh, dude, there's no better feeling than knowing that you were like, yeah, dude, I did the things, I tattled and the guy got put in timeout. Good. You know what I mean? Like, because like, you know, you guys make fun of me all the time, but like, we'll be in chat, you guys can make fun of me too, but like, we'll be in games and I'll be like, dude, that guy's doing some shady shit. You know, but there's no way for me to prove it, right? I just report the guy and then hope that one of the, you know, the dev teams takes a look at it. And if a punishment comes down, I have no idea. So I never get the satisfaction of being able to go back to these two and be like, hey, I reported that dude, and you know what? He was cheating, so suck my nuts. And
how many people you report, though? There's no way that applies to every single one of them.
Hey, listen, if I feel this is my thought process, and you guys can agree or disagree, I leave it up to the devs. You know, I believe that there's a way for them to be able to see it. If I think some shady shit's going on, I'm going to report it, because the people not reporting it is how shady shit continues to be able to get past and continue to be in game. So snitch justice, Viking. That's right, Kat. I agree. Get him out of here.
All right.
Go ahead.
I was going to move on to the other improvements unless you had something else to say.
Nope, you're fine.
Here's Jedi's thought process. That guy's better than me. He must be cheating.
No, that's not true.
That is 100%. Every game we play.
Oh my god!
Every game we play.
Now who's being dramatic?
This guy lands a shot that you don't think he could have. Well, he must be cheating. Boom, report him.
I mean, VX,
he has nothing to worry about.
VX, you did it. Fucking what was that? One of the portals that we played?
I do it in every game that has if it has a report feature and I think something shady's going on, I report him. Why? To me, there's no reason not to. If you feel they're not going to punish somebody that's not cheating. They're going to take a look at it.
True.
They're like, you know what, that guy's not cheating, so they're not going to do anything.
I've
then
been
my
banned
report
3 times in Apex, and I've never once cheated in Apex, and that's because I've been reported falsely. So I disagree with you entirely.
Oh well, I don't feel bad for you.
All right.
So good, I guess. I don't know what to tell you.
Other improvements: updated the decal for Murdoch's static trap, added missing sound effects to the allied core for when it's under attack, updated Decker's sound effects for basic attacks, rocket boots, footsteps, and stasis bomb. I mean, we're not going to know what any of this looks or sounds like until Tuesday, but change the visual effects for when the player dies, added hero names. I'm not going to, like I said, we'll figure it out once Tuesday comes. Control support now includes scrolling with left and right triggers when using the virtual cursor. I don't know what the fuck that means.
I assume it's controlling, like going through menus.
Okay.
Is the virtual cursor. The big one that I wanted to look at there, though, actually is the added a new sensitivity setting called ADS. And I wonder if where that applies.
Aim down sights?
Exactly, right? But it's a new one. It's not renaming a previous one. So I'm not sure. Like, the only thing I can think of in the game right now that it could apply to is Murdoch Ultimate. That when he goes into Murdoch Ultimate, he has a different sensitivity setting for that ultimate compared to normal look sensitivity. But I don't know where else it could be applied, and maybe it's for a future hero we don't know about. But that's like my tinfoil hat brain going through, right? But currently, I would imagine it's applied to Murdoch ult and nothing else.
Maybe Sparrow Snipe too.
Maybe, yeah, I can see that.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Knock when it comes time. I don't know. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
We'll find out.
Mm-hmm.
So balance changes. Countess recommended jungle start updated to blue buff from red buff. I think that's really cool, having a hero specific path for a jungler.
Yeah, and Ruba says targeted abilities in general. Murdoch Snipe's a good example.
Okay,
there you go.
Yeah, thank you, Ruba. So yeah, I just think that's just cool. Crunch, free crunch, passive healing no longer benefits from damaging minions. Yes. I think this is a great change. He had way too much lane sustain for what he is.
Dude, fuck crunch, dude. Dude, 90% of my frustration playing Pred has been against crunch, and I've been talking about crunch for a long time. Oh, dude, I was over the moon when I saw this. This is my favorite balance change. It's huge. It's huge. Go ahead, Jelly. I'm so excited.
I mean, this is a perfect thing to do because Chimera can't heal off of lane minions. So Crunch shouldn't be able to heal off of lane minions. If that's the standard you want to set, perfect. Set it across the board. And I think this is the perfect nerf for Crunch to be brought into a good state where he's not just sustaining through lane nonstop once he hits level 6, but is able to actually be outplayed back and forth.
Yeah. He was as the solo lane guy here. He was a nightmare to deal with in solo lane, just nightmare. And I didn't enjoy playing him, so I wouldn't play him because I just liked Grux. I thought Grux was super fun to play. But it just, if he gets at all fed, I could never compete with him. He just out healed any damage that I could put out, and it was so frustrating. So yeah, huge good change.
The Faye, giving players a little more counterplay to Faye's ultimate, so that we can increase the power budget of our overall kit. This will allow Faye to have bigger moments even without using Flytrap. But also means she has to pay more attention to her opponent's cooldowns and ability to escape said Flytrap. Let's go all the way down to Flytrap now. The bug fix now correctly deals increased damage based on its level. Tentacle break distance decreased from 1750 to 1100. So you could break her tentacles by getting out of it at a certain distance. And pull delay increased from 0.6 seconds to 0.75 seconds. So now you have even more time to get out of it. So there's just giving people more time to get out of fly.
I wanted to say something about this, not specifically about Faye, but this is a really good example. I love their description of the changes and why they're making the changes and their hope for the changes. Because I know we've been giving them a little bit of flack on some of their wording and stuff like that so far in the thing. But to me, keep this up, boys. Like devs that are still here and listening, whoever wrote this or whatever, give them a pat on the back. Because this, to me, felt like a perfect way to describe how I would want if Faye was going to be adjusted or nerfed or however you want to put it, or buffed even. I like the way that they're coming at why they're doing it the way they're doing it. Like we want to remove the power of her ultimate and feeling like that ultimate is the only thing that she can really do to take control. We're going to give some more power in some of her other abilities, but also give outplay for her fly trap. I think that's fantastic. If you have a fast enough trigger finger to be able to flash out of her ultimate, you should be rewarded for it, or whatever other movement abilities you can get to go off in that time frame. Because there's nothing worse than feeling like, man, if I had just a half a second longer, I would have been out of that thing. And why am I punished because their ping is slightly better than mine, or whatever nonsense people like me will make up for why they got caught in an ability. This is great. I just want to say not only just the changes, but I think that the descriptions, because they do it across the board on this in this section, and I just wanted to praise them. Personally, I think it's amazing the way that they came to the decisions and the thought processes behind the changes.
Okay. Her Bramble Patch base damage changed. So it just changed it to where that her early Bramble Patch is going to deal more damage, and later it'll deal a little bit less. Harvest Nettles. Pretty much the same thing with Harvest Nettles, except it's just an increase across the board for the base damage, but the scaling has been decreased from 60 to 5, and projectile speed increased from 11,000 to 12,000. She definitely needed a projectile speed on her Harvest Nettles. It was just way too hard to hit. So I think these are overall good changes for Faye. I like them. Her ultimate was just way too powerful. That Faye was just a little floating ultimate. That's all she was.
Yeah.
I would imagine it would make her lane phase a little bit more fun too, because you don't have ultimate yet, like maybe the other abilities didn't feel as rewarding. This might make it feel like your laning phase feels better. I don't know though. I didn't play a lot of Faye, just on paper.
For Gideon, base damage increased just across the board, but the scaling decreased from 70 to 65. For his Q, that's his rock. His Void Breach is his straight rock. Scaling decreased from 60 to 55. Cooldown decreased from 9 seconds to it decreases as you level it up. So even though they didn't increase the base damage of Void Breach, they've decreased the cooldown as you level it up. So you can Void Breach a lot more often.
Yep.
Howitzer. Overall zoning potential has been very oppressive, especially combined with his ability to nuke out individual targets, or keeping his slow grenade damage relative but decreasing the amount of grenades placed so that players can more easily navigate around or through them. So his R2000 missile decreased R2000 missile delay after firing by 0.2 seconds. I'm assuming this means that it's not going to come out as fast.
No, it decreased, so it comes out faster.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Right? Decrease the delay after firing.
Slow grenade is R&B. Total amount decreased from 16 to 11. Grenades now have a tighter formation. The base damage has been increased across the board. The scaling has been increased across. So the grenades will deal a little bit more damage, but there's less of them in a smaller area.
Yep. I think that's a great change. 100%.
Lieutenant Bellica, probably my favorite mage in Predecessor right now. Bellica felt a little too clunky after casting her Seismic Assault, so we're letting players move and cast a little quicker after casting to help her feel a little less a sitting duck when fishing for big stuns. Our Seismic Assault Q, bug fix, description fixed, decreased lockout by 0.2 seconds. And our Void Drone or E, 20% scaling now correctly applies to the just overall buffs for Bellica. That was the one complaint I had with her, is that after you use your stun, you're just locked into place for a while. But yeah, nice change. Items, tier 2 item, Alchemical Rod. A passive mana per stack decreased from 8 to 4, so you're getting less mana from this one. This one builds into an item. A Bloodlust item renamed to Bloodletter. This Bloodlust The Bloodlust shared its name with Grux's passive, meaning it was overdue for a rebrand. Players should now be able to better understand which talking.
Sure.
So just a name change to
Yeah.
clarify things.
It's fine.
So tier 3 items, the ones we actually care about. Mind Razor. Passive renamed to Arcane Strength from Arcane Power. They did this because this item does indeed stack with Vanquisher. We're changing this passive name so that the players who came from games where the passive name exists can better understand this interaction. And Astral Catalyst. Oh, Spellslinger passive description now correctly states 3 stacks, 4 stacks. I thought they were going to
first item, you know, as long as it's bug fixed, it's fine.
I thought they were going to like nerf Astral Catalyst, but
They nerfed it last patch. So now it's
they did a little bit.
Your cooldown refund instead of 25, so it takes all 5 to get it up again, which I think is good.
Yep.
Azure Core. This was the one that the first one we covered, the alchemical rod built into. The mana per stack decreased from 8 to 4, so you get less. This one, a combustion mana increased from 200 to 300. They did this because combustion felt poor to pick early because it just your lane sustain wasn't there because you had less mana if you hit combustion. So nice little change. Lifebinder again felt a bit too niche to fit into any builds reliably. Instead, we're looking to enable magical bruiser builds, giving them a new capstone option. This newly improved Lifebinder should find a solid place as a 3rd or 4th slot for mages that built a bit more durable with items like World Breaker and Dreambinder. It also helps give Sevrog a new offensive option to scale into when he gains a magical power increased from 50 to 60, magical lifesteal reduced from 15 to 10, tenacity removed, added 10 ability haste, recipe changed. That's just the component items for it. Passive changes removed leech passive, new passive, vital bond gained 0.5% bonus health, ability haste per 50 magical power. This seems like more of an ability haste item now as opposed to and less of a lifesteal item.
Yep, which I think is a great change.
Kind of a weird name for it though.
All the help you can get.
I don't think Sevrog's that bad.
Go play Sevrog in the offlane, Mangoose, and come talk to me.
Golems Gift. We're looking to shift some of Golems Gift's power into its haste over raw power and armor. This should help it feel better as a more utility-driven item in the final couple slots for mages. Magical power decreased from 70 to 60. Ability haste increased from 10 to 20. Passive renamed from Artillery Golem to Stone Skin. Stone Skin passive. Total magical power and physical armor decreased from 40 to 60, 30. And
40 to 60.
Yeah, show up. Stacks lost per physical damage is received decreased from 10 to 60. So again, it seems like they're putting a little more emphasis on haste over our other option. Oblivion Crown. Oblivion Crown was a bit too catch-all in its previous capstone form. It also had no downtime as a spike, and so we're transitioning it to still be a strong general use item, but with a burst damage focused niche. Items should now find a more specialized niche for heroes like Faye and Bellica, who look to blow a target up quickly during particular windows of opportunity. Annihilate magical power bonus decreased from 35% to 15%. That's crazy. New passive Oblivion. Your next instance of ability damage against an enemy hero will deal an additional 8% of their current health as magic damage and increase their magical damage taken by 10% for 3 seconds on cooldown. So yeah, if their goal here has been achieved, I think. Instead of just getting a flat overall increase to your magical power, you get a lot more burst opportunity for this. So I'm excited to use this item.
I still think this item is going to be taken by pretty much everybody.
Yeah,
but I think this is a good change for sure.
It's going to be the age of the mages for sure. Like, I think all the mages after these changes are they're going to probably be pretty strong.
Great, good, more squishies for Revenant to kill.
I mean, sure. That's if he doesn't get blown up in one rotation. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Let's see how he gets that ultimate off when he gets bounced up by Bellica into a bomb and then capped with Neural Disruptor and he's just dead. Prophecy, the bug hasty passive bug fix collection description fix 75% to 60. Tainted Scepter. Most tainted items tend to naturally scale or have a scaling of some form that makes them generally applicable across a game. Scepter, as true damage, does somewhat naturally scale, but this scaling is fairly minimal relative to others. We're adding a small magical power scaling to rectify this. So the Malice base damage per stack decreased from 5. Malice 1% magical power per stack scaling. So you just get some more magical power with Tainted Scepter, which is nice. I like to see people kind of guided into building these anti-heal items, because you don't see it enough. You see people complain about Chimera and Rampage, but you don't see people building anti-heal. It's like, what the f*** man? Viper fixed item description. Bug fix gives the proper amount of physical power from 50 from 40. Leviathan, keeping our anti-heal item names to a theme. Item renamed to Tainted Bastion. To be honest, I didn't know Leviathan provided anti-heal. And I have built into Leviathan before.
This guy.
Bug fixes. Okay, just a whole bunch of bug fixes. I don't want to read all those bug fixes.
Whole bunch of bug fixes.
Did any of them catch your guys' eye as you were reading through these? I still don't think I've read through every single one of these bug fixes. Too much. And I just
nerd stats for me, man. I don't care.
I don't notice that many bugs in Predecessor anyway, so it's not like I was on the lookout for a particular bug to be fixed. So it's like,
I just wait for one of you guys who likes to read nerd stuff to tell me, hey, that bug that we complained about is no longer in the game. And I'm like, oh, cool. Because even with like OP that has more bugs than I would say Predecessor does, I still don't read through the bug stuff because most of them are like so niche and weird and off. I get bored reading it. It's just a wall of text to me. I'm just like, give me the juicy stuff. I didn't even read all the items because I was like, I don't know what any of these items are. I'm just going to skip past this.
My favorite bug that they fixed is interesting, but it's that they capped Fangtooth stacks at 20 to prevent a crash in practice mode, which means that more than just me went into practice mode and killed 5 million Fang teeth in order to stack your abilities to 1 million damage.
Oh, I know Soltis did it. I know I did it. That's funny. I like this one. It was, I guess, inhibitors were still granting vision of stealth players even after they were dead.
If only Overprime would fix that one.
Oh, does that Overprime do that too?
Yeah, drives me nuts. It's a Kalari Nerf.
But yeah, I'm not gonna read through all these. So just overall thoughts before we move on to the next game here. Overall thoughts on this patch. I mean, we'll have a better understanding of it when we can actually play it on Tuesday. But I think overall this is a good patch. Nothing huge, I guess, but I like the rearrangement of the mages.
Yeah, I think it's going to be the biggest thing in the patch is, of course, Revenant. Lots of small changes to make things fit more in a defined area of the game rather than just a catch-all. And I think that's a good thing. I love seeing combustion buffs. I want the bug back where it did like 100 times damage instead of 10 times or whatever it was way back in the testing days. But yeah, reintroduce that bug for me. We'll get Narbash nuking people on the map, no problem. But yeah, I think overall a solid patch.
Same. Yeah, it's got a good amount of meat in it. It's a nice patch sandwich. You know what I mean? Like it's got a little bit of everything. I think for me personally, just as like as a fan of these games and studios in general, it gives me a little bit of hope. I know it's something that we kind of talked about when these games were getting to go into early access. We talked about like having a bit of faith that, you know, the devs were going to be putting in meaningful changes into the game and kind of like slowly but surely ramping up. And I think this kind of shows it, improves it. You know, adding in the screens at the end so we can see stats, you know, some of the quality of life changes that they added in. Obviously we are screaming for more, but at the same time, we're getting steady amounts of it. And as their first real big patch, I think it's successful. We'll see, obviously, in game, but like on paper, it looks good. And I'm excited to see what the hardcore Pred fans really think of it, because they're going to be the ones that it really matters to. The guys who are logging in every single day and putting in the hours. Does this patch really feel good to you guys, you know, not just us talking heads who are going to put in, you know, a few games per week.
The only thing that I was surprised not to see in this patch, and I think it overshadows this patch, is no Fangtooth changes. That there were no adjustments to Fangtooth. So Fangtooth is going to be the same problem he has been since release. And I think that is a missed opportunity. At least in the meantime, you can bring down that scaling a little bit as a temporary fix to then go out to find a greater fix later on. But that's been the number one complaint that I've seen in these games is Fangtooth is just, you either get Fangtooth or you lose. And this doesn't do anything to address that.
Yeah. You'd think they would have done something, yeah. But I think that they are working on a better solution overall for that. So not going to fault them too much. Like I said at the beginning of this, there's even if you don't see something that you wanted fixed, I'm sure it'll be coming eventually. So don't worry about it too much.
Mangus, I don't know if you want to ban people in chat, but there's a guy talking shit about Shinbi, and how she's whack. I don't know if you care about that, but
what's going on?
I figured I'd point that out while we're in transition to the next game. But there's some dissent in chat about how
who's talking about Shinbi.
Of course.
Oh man!
All right.
I do want to say while we transition a little bit, man. Chat, you guys have been popping off. Really appreciate you guys all being here. It's really cool to see you guys on the Sunday afternoon / evening. Also, a big shout out to the devs that were here answering our questions as we were talking about them. Thank you guys for being here.
Much appreciated.
Really appreciate it. So, on to you.
All right, you guys ready to move on to Ethereal?
Ethereal. I'm excited about this one.
All right, so for Ethereal, we got 2 new skins celebrating the Lunar New Year. We're getting a bunch of skins in Ethereal. The game's not even in early access, not even out yet. So we got the Empress Malaya, which we've seen before. Fucking fantastic looking skin. Any skin looks good on Malaya.
It's hard to be upset. It's hard to be upset, dude. She's got all the things that make a guy happy. You know what I'm saying?
And then we've also got,
for sure.
Pull it up here, the New Year Kalia skin. This is the skin I think we've seen being used in the game.
Nope.
No?
Lies. Mangoose is incorrect.
I could have sworn in one. Could have sworn in one of the shorts. I was like, it looks like she's wearing some kind of skin instead of
she is wearing a skin in the shorts, but it is not this one.
Oh yeah, it's the summertime sundress one. Yeah, that's right.
It is summertime Kalia.
This one looks amazing.
The name we're calling it right now, it may change, is Cherry Blossom Kalia. But yeah, just love this skin. This one, this has been in the works for a while. And when I got the message that it was completed, I was like, yes, let's go. I love this skin.
I love that she has a Kitsune mask on the side of her head because that's what she is. Like, she's wearing a mask of what she is.
Such a cool skin. And the thing there is you can see as well is some of the visual effects may change. She's got the pink orb there as opposed to the blue that you've seen in some of the shorts already as well. But overall, I love this skin.
Did you guys plan on doing more themed skins, like a lot of themed skins for different holidays and stuff?
I mean, I can't say like which holidays, but I know themed skins are definitely in the cards, right? We've already seen winter skins. We're seeing Lunar New Year skins. We know summer skins exist with the Summer Blast Kalia, right? Like there's plenty of opportunity for skins in parts of the year or different events of the year that I think just makes sense in a lot of ways. And they're easy. I won't say easy themes, but they're themes that are nice to incorporate into your game, right? Yes, your game can exist outside of the regular world, but you can also tie it in some ways to what's going on at the same time, and it can be a cool thing.
I have never encountered somebody who's like, oh, my immersion. They don't celebrate Lunar New Year. Like, come on, bro. Like, if the skin looks good, people will be happy. And I think both of these skins, I mean, they touch on things that I really enjoy. I'm going to try and keep it a little bit professional over here, but
Viking, they've got good assets. That's what really matters. The assets are really solid in both of these skins.
Big true.
I don't like you talking like that about Kalia. I don't like that.
Big true.
Labor Day themed skins. God help me. I will find a way to get that Chef Dante skin into the game if it's the last thing I do. They did it as a post several years ago before I even joined the team. And he's like him wearing like a Kiss the Cook apron with a spatula in hand. And I want that skin so bad. Mangoose called it Dad Tay for a while.
Yeah.
Just incredible skin.
I love that kind of stuff. I think those are the kinds of things, though, that like, bring people into the game and have fun with it, right? I mean, we praise League for doing that, right? They do like a lot of the fun skins, obviously are not meant for immersion. They have immersion skins, and you guys will too, which I think are great. Sometimes you just want a fun skin because it's fun. Like, who cares, man? Just let it be what it is. And these ones look awesome.
For fun skins, the skin, like I always put the bar on, is actually not even a League skin. It's a Smite skin, and it's Thanatos, and he's just a flying piece of toast going around the map in certain instances. I don't even know what his abilities are. I've just seen the skin, and I think that's the funniest thing on the planet. Brilliant.
Soltis sent me a picture of a Smite skin today of Medusa. It's Medusa, but she has goose heads coming off instead of snakes.
Yeah, 100%. The ability for skins to be serious or fit a theme or immersive or just fun and silly, there's plenty of opportunity. There's no great reason to limit yourself down to one thing, right? If I'm going to bring up the F word in here. If Fortnite has shown us anything, it's that their skin game can be as diverse as they want, and it does not matter.
In fact, it actually makes the game in some aspects more exciting and fun because you get the diversity and it becomes its own level of immersion and ways to kind of flex on people, which again, I talked about this in RPGs. Sometimes having the cool guy skin that's no longer around or something along those lines it's a bit of a, look at what I got. You don't have this, I have this. Like it matters.
Yeah,
it matters.
100%.
So it wouldn't be an Ethereal segment if we didn't ask play test win.
Yes.
I tried, boys.
You're right. It wouldn't be an Ethereal segment. You're correct.
I tried, boys. I tried. All right, I can log in and try these skins, but nobody else can.
Well, that's all we had for Ethereal this week. You guys got any final thoughts before we move on to Overprime?
Nah, excited as always. Make sure you guys are following Ethereal on socials. Obviously, these guys are way more farther back in development. It's always cool that Jelly gets permission to showcase this stuff. Patreon people get to see a lot of this stuff way earlier. So if you do want to support the game directly, I know that Patreon is a good way to do so. But if you have a chance and you don't want to have the money, support the socials. Make sure you guys are giving it thumbs ups or retweets or whatever social you happen to follow the team on. And if you're not following the team, do so. It's free to you. And it's a good way for the team to get exposure, also to reward them. Like it makes people happy to hear like the feedback. I think when our team hears like, hey, people went like crazy over this skin announcement that we showcased. So if that matters to you, it matters to me. I think it would matter to the team. If you want to support these guys, I think that'd be a good way to do it.
All the links are in the description. Great plug from the non-employee.
What can I do?
Well, let's move on to Overprime. They had a major patch where they added Wukong. We haven't actually discussed it on FTM, but I've discussed these patch notes so many goddamn times now. I don't want to really go through patch note by patch note on FTM. So let's just talk about the overall impact of some of these patch notes that we've seen, some of the major changes. We'll start off with Wukong.
You want to get right into the deep end of the pool, huh?
Jump into it. Let's talk about Wukong. We were very afraid that he was going to be overpowered, and we got the exact opposite.
Yeah, 100%. And even I've been playing a bunch of Wukong the last couple days, even because I played him when he first released, and then kind of avoided him for a couple days. It was just like, I'm just gonna not, thanks. And then yesterday and today, I've kind of gone back onto playing Wukong, and there's definitely a learning curve to him, but it does not make him a good hero. Even once you're at the top of that learning curve, it makes him a hero you can choose to play sometimes in the right situations with a decent team kind of hero.
That was going to be my point. I think that he is the hero that requires so much of the rest of your team to understand what he is good at and what he's not good at. You might see occasionally a Wukong who comes into a team fight and pops off and gets some kills and stuff like that. I don't think that's going to be the norm. He needs to be split pushing. That's his whole design. And it's really difficult, I think, in OP particularly, to set up a very strong split push. But that's where he thrives, I think. I think that you build him as a split pusher, whichever way makes you happy to do so. I think he has multiple builds that you can utilize. I think the crit build is probably the easiest way in attack speed to be able to get those turrets down very quickly. But trying to build him as like a team fighter or anything else just doesn't make sense. And you really, in my opinion, you really need your whole team to be on par with the understanding, like he is going to draw pressure over here, try and take the towers, take inhibs. We need to be doing other stuff on the map to give him that space. Like we need to be creating pressure other places. If you don't have the double pressure point, or even doing like, you know, a 1-3-1 where you have somebody else also creating a pressure point, I think he fails as a champion personally. And this is my hot take, maybe for some, he sucks in the jungle. Stop trying to play this guy in the jungle. My thing is because his E stacks are on spawn, and unless you get lucky as the jungler that they spawn all with the ability to be able to get you're not gaining any benefits from it. Or at least every minion wave is a fresh spawn. You have a chance to be able to earn that gold. That's the other thing I will say. It's probably better in your sense to keep yourself earning extra gold. Get those last hits, get the gold. Don't go for healing. It doesn't make any sense. You want to get as powerful as fast as possible, so that way you can push lanes, and that's your whole job. That's at least how I've taken him. I think he can work, and I think he might maybe find himself a niche and like higher elos where they have a lot more of that communication and understanding of what champions can and can't do. And right now, as soon as he's locked in on I'm like immediately like, oh no, bro. I think I even started typing in the chat, bro, Wukong's bad. Don't even worry about picking him. I get though, he is fun. I will say this, his kit's fun to play. I don't think his kit's it's cool doing some of the stuff that he can do.
It's fun, but it's clunky. So like the biggest change that I would recommend for Wukong is not even a numbers change, though I think he does need to be buffed on his numbers just a hair to actually be viable in more scenarios. But it's the fact that when you're switching stances, his Q, for those that don't know, his Q and his right click change based on which stance he's in, and that's his stance switching is his E.
Sorry, I'm looking at chat.
Those abilities are tied to, they share a cooldown with each other. So if you switch stances and you've already used right click, your right click's still on cooldown. If you switch stances and you've already used Q, your Q is still on cooldown. And that throws off like his ability to combo and do what he wants to do a lot. Because great, his right click in the attack stance or his offensive stance stuns and pushes enemies back. The right click in his nimble stance is a very, 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 very short range dash. And compared to Overprime dashes, that thing is minuscule. So you're going to use the stun and knockback 9 times out of 10, honestly, 10 times out of 10, right? But if I didn't have a shared cooldown between them, there's a reasonable opportunity to use both. The Q is the same way. The offensive Q is very niche in use cases, and it's pretty hard to land. Does a lot of damage when you do, but it's pretty hard to land in very niche in use cases. The nimble Q, where you're airwalking and going very fast in the air, has a lot of use cases. So you use that way more often than you use the offensive Q. You separate the cooldowns. Now I can do both and have some intermixability in those ability casts that gives him more variation and makes him more viable in a lot more scenarios. Also, fixed momentum. Him airwalking above everybody and then losing all momentum and dropping straight down, the worst feeling on the planet.
It's the same with Shambi. Yeah, I was about to say that.
Right. Any of those dash abilities into the air.
Robert Jones, thank you so much for the super chat. OP News, I'm finally able to play a rank match. You need to be level 7, while in game it says level 5. That was one of the things they identified with the latest patch. He said it's been a mixed bag of noobs. Yeah, it is. Whatever you're playing. People are afraid to play competitive because they don't think they're good enough to play competitive. Yo, it's so much easier when you like at the lower levels of competitive play.
The problem, and this is going to change the subject since we're talking about Wukong a little bit, but the problem is the competitive placements. You're going up against people from bronze, silver, upwards of gold. So you could be in placements. We had one, me and Jelly, when we were playing, and there was a guy who was obviously either he was a troll or he was so brand new to the game he didn't know what he was doing, and he was not ranked. He was in placements because now you can see on the screen that whether they're ranked or not, right, in the loading screen. So we're like, dude, you're just at such a huge disadvantage if you have somebody who's trying their placements because they hit level 7 or whatever it is now, and you're just like, well, there goes my placement, or there goes my rank up, right? Like, or I was about to hit rank, but now because this guy's basically a bronze player or below bronze, I don't even know if there is something below bronze, fucking wood, like. We're just in a 4v5 the whole game, and it sucks. So I feel for you, Robert Jones. It's a tough place. The hard part though is I also know that you get better quote unquote quality games of like in that competitive mode, I think you tend to have people who are interested in trying to win, not just like doing, troll builds or troll champions or doing different weird stuff to try and just test it out, which is fine. That's what quick play is for. So if you don't like encountering that, then ranked is the place to go, where you're probably going to get people who are taking the game a little bit more serious. But yeah, those ranked, the placements are rough. And I think that times are super long for people who are still in placements, like super high.
Even me that's in promos.
Yeah.
We were getting games basically nonstop. The second I hit my promos to gold, we waited like 45 minutes and didn't even get a game. Like, it's wild.
Soul Reaper hit it. He said, simply fix, just hit platinum so you can't get placement players. Fair. Big true. Right, we're gonna get right on that, Reaper. No problem.
No word on controller play yet. We know it's planned. It's one of their major system plans, but we don't. And will back to Wukong. We got off track there a little bit.
I'm sorry. That's my fault.
Wukong, I think it's still going to take some time for people to figure him out. But I think, just judging from what I've seen so far, I don't think he's going, unless they make some numbers changes or do the change that Jelly said, having him not have shared cooldowns between stances. He's just not going to be that great. Like Paragon, I think we all had that aha moment game where it was like, why the fuck is our Wukong never in these team fights? What the fuck is going on? And then Wukong wins the game for you by himself. And you're like, oh, that's what he was doing. Yeah. That's why we were fighting 4v5 the whole time. You just don't. You're not going to have that moment in Overprime.
Yep.
Yeah. The rotations are too easy.
The only time you see that moment is suddenly Wukong takes Prime, like within seconds.
I did that. We had a game where the whole team's across the map, and I had to back because I was low health, and I was like, I'll just go solo Prime while they're fighting over there. And went over there, soloed Prime real quick, moved on with my team. Like, that easy.
To me, that's what he should be doing. His whole thing should be objectives. What objective can I take if you're playing Wukong and that's like something you think sounds like a fun way of playing the game? One, be communicative with your team. Let them know, like, hey, I am playing this guy to be an objective beast. Like, I am going to be I'm trying to solo objectives. I'm going to get smite after, on like my second or third back, whatever. Play him in solo lane, by the way. If you're going to play him, don't play him in the jungle. It's just a troll if you do. But I think that's it. The other thing that I wanted to point out, because we were really concerned about his ultimate and how strong it was going to be. It's okay. Like, it's good for exactly what we're describing. I think his strength is, like, if you get enough time on a tower by yourself and nobody's showing up, you're going to melt the tower. You know what I mean? If you've got like an item or two on you, in situations where you're able to stay solo on one of the neutrals, you're going to melt it. It's going to go down. But it's in a team fight or in solo situations, his mini or his clones are not the reason why you're losing that fight against a Wukong. Like,
for everybody struggling against a Wukong that you think his ultimate is absolutely broken and doing the greatest thing on the planet, build Zing's Claw Barrier and you win. Congratulations.
Yeah. That's the way he was
against Wukong.
It was called Thorn Yomi in Paragon, but it was the same thing. I used to do that with Richter all the time. Let him build up his stuff, activate Thorn Yomi, and then he would try to escape because suddenly he was getting fucked. Yeah.
Yeah. Get Zing's Claw Barrier, stand in the middle of his clones. Don't move out of those things. Let him build up as many as possible on you and just watch his health melt.
And I will say that we had that one game where Wukong had been fighting people in this one bush forever, and I didn't realize how many fucking clones he had in that bush. I dashed in a Shimby to try and take him out. It was immediately set upon by like 12 or 13 fucking clones.
My favorite has been, like, you can see where a Wukong has been because you just see this trail of the clones. And then you're just like, what the heck? And there have been some annoyances. Like, I think it's cool. Like, he definitely has more disengage than he does, like, go in and engage type stuff. Like, I think most of his kit is helping him be able to try and stay in those side lanes and then run away when he gets focused, right? And his guys whirling around actually slow people down and they can't get into travel mode because they'll whack them every time they run by. So there is some value in that. But I think Robert Jones says, I think Wukong is viable, just not strong. I think that's kind of true. I think that there's other there's other champions that do something close, not maybe as much split pushing as he is probably capable of doing, but can do. Like, and my first one is Xena. Xena 1, I think, hard counters him and can also split push with her right click, attack scaling. So there's other champions that can do the same thing and still be viable in team fights and all that other stuff that it's probably, I don't know. It's going to be niche. I hope that he finds a place, though. I do. I hope he finds a place. I just don't know what it is.
From being a balanced character.
Yeah.
I think if you give him the most minuscule of number tweaks in the upward direction and release his cooldowns, you can see really good skilled Wukong play come out of really good players, but he's not going to be oppressive. And I think that's where a Wukong with this kit should be, is that high skill cap, high reward, but not necessarily just winning the game outright because of it either. Like, he still needs to be a balanced character at the end of the day, and I think he's really close to there if you just made those couple changes.
What do you guys think about Gyarados Gaming's comment? OP Wukong is Sereth with a different kit, literally. I don't agree with it personally, but I'm just curious if you guys do.
I mean, she has an escape where she jumps up in the air. I don't know. I don't think their kits are all that similar. They're both offlaners.
Everyone's the same. Like,
I mean, they're both the same in that they're both they were intended to be melee carries, but they're both played offlane or jungle for the most part. There are similarities there, but anyway, I mean, I don't know. I think that's probably enough about Wukong. You guys ready to move on?
Kat just says, I think Wukong is a great character to play when in a group, so you know your mates are going to deal with a 4v5 most of the time, but not for solo because they won't know your game plan as Wukong. Exactly what we've been talking about. And I do agree. In the quick play matches, we've had some fun Wukong moments, but they're kind of sparse. Like
the most successful the most successful Jelly has been with Wukong is when I was just fucking laying it down on Shinbi that one game. Like I went 17-1 with Shinbi, so it was like the 4v5s didn't feel like a 4v5, and then Jelly was just free to do whatever the fuck he wanted to.
And then you have the questions like, well, wait, was it really Jelly doing it, or was it just the 14-5? It shouldn't be.
But I don't know, the new skins they added. They added them all at once. I thought they were going to come out, sequentially, but no, they added them all at once. A lot of really great skins here. The Dark Wings Muriel is really good. I should probably pull these patch notes. Stop showing my terrible fucking Kwong gameplay here.
Oh, Geardo, I would love to see that sheet. Is it on a Google Sheets or something like that? Can you post it in Discord? I would love to see that, actually. Those are some stats I can get behind. Cyber wants us to move on to fault news.
That guy.
Well, since we're talking about the skins, I think, first of all, most of the skins, if not all of them, are great. Like, they did do some updates for some, even the epic skins, and made them a little bit poppy. My personal favorite, I have two, is the Sereth skin. I think is now one of the best skins in the game. But I also think the Muriel skin is it's not like it's a bit of a recolor in some aspects. It doesn't drastically change her, but I don't know, the color combinations, her helmet with the little horns coming off of it, like the I don't know. It just, I bought it today. It spoke to me. Like, and I don't play a lot of Muriel, but I think Muriel is the best support in the game. She's also probably one of the most fun supports to play in the game. I just think all of her buttons feel good to press, and there's always something you could be doing, and it just feels good to play her. Having a kick-ass skin to go along with it, which I think this one is, just makes it just adds that little cherry on top. But I do think that the Sereth skin is the coolest of the bunch. Not that the rest of them aren't also kind of cool, but that Sereth skin is sick, especially with her wings. Almost makes me want to be a Sereth player. And I think it almost makes Jelly want to be a Sereth player. Almost.
Not really.
I've been playing a whole bunch of Sereth.
Did you buy the skin?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, let's go.
It's got side cheek.
It do have the Aurora side cheek.
They have great assets.
Big true.
That Decker skin, pretty badass. Lo has it. I saw her playing with it. It looks really good in game. I've kind of drawn back on Decker a little bit. She used to be one of my most played supports. Now I think Starbash and Muriel are just both better support.
Yep, 100%.
Care about that. So I've definitely felt this in the game. the kill assist XP gain adjusted, so
Mm-hmm.
just XP, not gold. You get less experience from kills than you used to, and assists. I think this hurts supports quite a bit.
I think this should have been just on kills. I think assists already give so little XP comparatively that now the XP should have been staying the same for assists, and then kills should have been brought down a little bit. If you're going to change XP at all, I don't think this was the necessary change of kill XP versus kill gold. I think kill gold is the more important one. But if you're going to change this, assists should have stayed the same, because now supports are just... I've seen so many games now where supports are 4 or 5 levels behind.
Yeah,
I'm hitting level 18. I look at my support and they're like level 11 running around the map, still trying to get their ability. It's wild.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. The only other thing I could have thought of is if they wanted it to be that way, because I get like they wanted to try and slow down some of the roaming and kind of slow down the laning phase just a little bit more, like, you know, and make it a little bit more isolated and all that stuff. And so from that, I get. And couple that with the minion movement changes that they did, you know, I think that itself, at least economy wise, accomplishes it, but it totally butchers supports. So I think what I would have hoped for was they buffed the support item to give something to kind of reimburse, in a sense, whether that's more gold or you know, some level of XP while near enemy or something like that. Like, not that you could take it into a solo lane and abuse it, but like while next to another enemy, if you get an assist or a kill, you gain something or whatever. I don't know if any of the devs are watching it, but if you use that idea, I think that might help, because supports do kind of struggle in that regard. Like, you're not earning enough XP and gold to really keep up with sometimes the game, and it sometimes you really feel it. Like, it's especially if you're like, so on one of the games we were doing today as Muriel, I was roaming so much to try and help keep people alive with my ultimate or whatever. I was exactly that. I was the support that was like 4 or 5 levels behind almost everybody else, while the Narbash support, who was just sticking around his carry the whole time, was gaining lots more experience because he was around every single minion and death and all that stuff. So it definitely it plays a part for supports, which is a bit of a bummer, because we need those guys to be relevant, and making them less relevant does suck.
I think Takima Gemstone of Abundance is just poorly designed in general, because most other starter items, support-based starter items in other games, is dependent upon like, you only get the benefits if your creep score is at a certain level. Like, you can't just go and farm creeps. Overprime, their Gemstone is based on being out of combat, so it punishes you for being an aggressive support, and because it doesn't have that creep score definition assigned to it, they can't make like, you could put something on there to where you get increased XP from or gold from assists, but then everybody would take it because there's no punishment for taking Gemstone of Abundance. There's no creep score punishment for it. So
yeah,
I don't know.
And I think this leads into
combat thing, right?
Itemization in general just being lacking diversity in Overprime comparatively to these other games, right? Like, just whenever you look at their items, they feel a lot more similar to each other, for one thing, but there's just also, they don't branch out to as far reaching roles or things that are, or passives that are needed for some of these characters to really thrive and survive.
Yep.
Let's move on. Sprint mode, movement speed adjusted from 30 to 20%. I could definitely feel this in game.
Oh, huge difference.
Especially when we first loaded in. Like, we were all like, ugh! Like, I feel like do you know what though? And this is maybe a hot take, I don't know, but it did make some of the movement speed things that you can do feel more relevant. Like, there was a lot of times where I felt like, you know, whether you're Wukong or, you know, getting the Muriel boost or whatever, like, those things mattered a lot more if you weren't able to get into travel mode, because you were able to keep yourself far ahead of the people who are chasing you that were in travel mode. I haven't noticed it drastically, but I have noticed that there has been moments where I'm like, oh, I could keep this guy ahead and safe, versus when everybody was like, you know. So I'm kind of torn on it. I think it does feel slow. It does, but it also, I think it makes it to where those other movements speed increases have relevancy.
I think this is also an answer to people complaining that pushing your lane means nothing.
True.
Right? In addition to other changes that are coming, pushing your lane when somebody can zoom over there, quickly get it, and then zoom back to where they were feels terrible. And I think so. It's partly because of that change. I also think that this change was partly made because of Wukong. You're introducing a split pusher into your game, and now you don't have split pushing already didn't mean anything. And now you've got a character dedicated to it that can't do it because it's too easy to get to the lanes. So I think this is a good step in the right direction towards a lane priority mattering more. I don't think this was necessarily the right step in the direction or enough of a step in that direction. But it's probably a little still too early to tell as things are still adjusting to all the changes, but still.
I think for me, what I would have wanted is a ramp up of speed rather than like you get to full speed. It's a more of like a ramping up to getting to speed. So that's how I thought it would be more fun from that perspective. But I do agree. I do think that, the Wukong being added in made a lot of sense for a lot of the changes they made to the macro play style, which is, definitely people being able to rotate too much. Also, which I think we're going to get into next, the portal gates being on a larger timer. Personally, huge fan of this, like especially as a solo laner, and I'm sure the guys who are in duo lane, very happy to not have somebody showing up in their lane every minute, and then after they're done getting the kills, the guy can just teleport right back because it's up already. Because that would be the thing. Like, hey, dude, they teleported over here. Punish them by pushing the wave in. Well, that wasn't really true. Either one, they could get back into getting lane fast enough because movement speed was so high, or the portal would be back up and they would maybe miss a wave or two, and it didn't really matter that much. Now it's a bit more punishing to go through those things. It does make a big difference. People get caught out more often. I think to me, all of the changes in general are a good thing from a macro perspective. Obviously, we'll need more time, but I think it's exciting to see that people are going to have to pay more attention to that kind of stuff.
The fog walls that you can't walk through, that's like a holdover from the old Paragon days. I don't know why they introduced it. I don't personally like it, but you do have some fog walls that,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, you just have some fog walls in the game that if it's on your side of the map, you can pass through them freely. If it's on the enemy side, you get blocked by them.
I think the only one I like is the
Shadow Wells. Doesn't make any sense. It seems kind of like they were randomly like, yeah, let's put a wall here that other team can't walk through.
Yeah.
But I am okay with the one that's on the inhibitor.
Right.
But it should go down when the inhibitors are down. Let it be a thing I can play around instead of it just being a permanent wall that I'm just screwed over by.
Yeah. 100%. I agree with that. Let's move on with these patch notes though. Like we mentioned, the portals been reduced from 1 minute to 2 minutes. Again, a good change, but I don't think it was the correct change. I like Soul Reaper had an idea for these where it should be a channeled thing. You have to channel for a few seconds to get through a portal. I think that would be a much better change to the portals. That way you can prevent people from going through them. And it's not just an ultimate quick escape that they are right now. And then the minion balance, movement speed has been adjusted, has been increased. Minion damage to other minions has been increased, and the execution ratio has been adjusted from 30% 35%. Super and siege minions the size has been increased by 20%, and minions weapons glow. So, and then tower balance changes, all buildings damage increased by 10%. So these are all changes to the lane and to the macro of the game overall. How have you guys felt about these changes?
Minions, I think they did too many things at once. I won't say I dislike the minion changes, but I think the minion changes were not as constructive to what they're trying to do in this patch as they wanted. By increasing the damage minions do to other minions and their movement speed, and the execute threshold as well on top of that, you're making it way easier for waves to kill each other and for heroes to kill waves.
And also the towers shooting harder makes it easier for towers to clear minions.
Yeah, and I'll get to the thing they should be doing with that in a second here. But I think that they wanted to create the ability for split pushing to be a viable strategy, for laning to matter more.
Yes.
With the increase in tower damage, which applies to minions too, and the minions being able to kill each other faster, it doesn't do that. right? If they left the damage off and just increased minion movement speed, lane priority increases drastically. If they just increased the damage and not the movement speed, lane priority increases drastically. By doing both of these things, you're almost counterintuiting on both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, my minions can get there faster, but they're going to take a ton of damage or be easier to clear from somebody else, right? And like it's a rock paper scissors battle, and every time you're losing, like or benefiting depending on which side of the wave you're on. If you're a hero on the side of the wave, you benefit from these changes no matter what. Whereas if somebody tried to split push you in, there's no real counter to that for the person that is split pushing. It just goes in, and if somebody shows up, it's really easy for them to clear that split push out any group of minions and call it a day, especially with wave clear abilities of any kind. Now, real quick, for the towers should do consistent damage to minions always.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Tower damage and tower damage to minions and tower damage to heroes should be different.
Yes.
You should not be able to. It should be that there, for instance, League of Legends Predecessor, I believe, Ethereal, all of this, right? Two tower shots and a melee and a basic attack on a melee minion takes out the melee minion. One tower shot and two basic attacks on a ranged minion takes out the ranged minion.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's regardless of the damage that the tower does to heroes. That's regardless of anything else. If a tower is purely hitting it, it's 3 shots or 2 shots of tower shots to kill a minion via whether it's melee or ranged. In Overprime, it doesn't feel that consistent at all. And because of that damage increase now, it's even less consistent. So your split pushing means nothing. Your big wave that you built up means nothing because the minions are just taking more damage. And it just feels like they knew what changes to make priority and lane happen, but made all of them at the same time, which means that they didn't give it as much priority as it could have had by doing just 1 or 2 of them.
I 100% agree with all of this. And this is something you and I have been talking about, especially since the second test, that minions just never felt like they really did anything that was valuable in what we would normally consider in a MOBA. There's no real good way to set up waves. There's no real good way to set up stacking waves. Like, it's really difficult to get multiple waves stacked up together to crash into a turret. And I think
I did a test in custom game modes with this, specifically in solo lane, since it's longer than mid. And whether I killed ranged minions or melee minions, it put 6 minions under tower. Whenever it hit there, it put just a single wave of minions under the tower, which a single wave of minions doesn't do anything for anyone.
No, it'll get cleared out
with the increase in tower damage.
Right. It's just a feels bad, I think. I mean, I do appreciate and I like the idea of the changes, but I still feel like it falls short of what they needed to have for it to be relevant. And I don't know at this point, I'm not entirely sure what kind of fix, because there's only one tower, so it's really difficult to do. I guess the only thing I can think of is that you give the cannon minions or whatever they're called. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name. The supers, the ones that are part of every third wave.
Siege.
Some kind of like the siege ones. Okay, thank you. That they get some kind of like, I don't know, buff to everybody else so they can start to kind of create a build, because with the speed up and everything like that, if you are a champion, you clear a wave and then the next wave is coming behind it and they are buffed by that siege, then it does something. And I don't know if it does currently. And if it does do that, then it's not doing it on a big enough scale. The other thing, and this is what I've noticed, is that the tower damage to champions, what their idea was to make it more respectful, I haven't noticed that at all. The only time I've ever really noticed it, it doesn't stop people from tower diving you and still being able to get away with some pretty insane tower dives. Because to me, I think of like League of Legends, where the ramp up of damage gets way high each time it hits you. There should be nobody that's not like super end game tank that should be able to tank 3 or 4 tower shots. And right now, after level 6, some of these champions with 1 item, 1 health, they can stay under tower for a long time. And it's stupid, in my opinion. I think it's dumb. It defeats a lot of the purpose of the safety of your 1 tower. And we only have 1. It's not like you have a fallback tower. You only get the 1 and then you're at inhibs. And it's like, okay, cool. Yeah, not a fan. I think it's a big missed opportunity, and I think it's probably what still keeps some hardcore MOBA fans away from the game, because it reduces the strategic value of laning. I do think that it's a success that people are respecting that they're losing out on golden XP by rotating, and it punishes, but it also punishes people who want to play assassins like Countess, who maybe can't stay in lane and need to go out and do stuff, but now they can't do that as efficiently. So it's, towers need to matter. I agree, Willie, and they don't right now currently.
Yeah, I agree. It does nothing for the macro of split pushing, but it does a lot for keeping people in their lane instead of rotating a whole hell of a lot. I think that's kind of what their goal was, more than the macro, but I think they do want to increase that macro. We'll see if they make some changes going ahead in the future. And the other thing that has changed is that I don't leash when I'm mid now, because I lose out on farm.
Yeah. And I leave in solo lane faster from leashing for the jungler. I don't stay as long, because it's you're the chance of you giving a slight advantage now to another laner is just too high. Your jungler just needs to put up with it, unfortunately, because a lot of times you want to get your jungler more ahead, like give them that opportunity to be able to get an early invade or a faster gank off or whatever. But with the changes to minions, you just can't really afford that.
Yeah, I'm willing to help out my jungler, but not if it means I miss out on 2 minions out of a wave.
Yeah, and early that matters a lot.
Yeah,
because that means that they're going to hit level 2 way faster than you. Not even the goal, just the ability of power. Anyway,
then the other big change they made, the Prime Spirit. Instead of just a random cycle of Prime Spirit spawning, it's one will spawn randomly at the beginning, and then it's always that one for the rest of the game. I guess until you get Spirit King Scylla, if that's still a thing or not, I don't even know. But yeah, I don't really care for this change. I know some people like it, some people don't.
I like it.
You like it?
I do. I think it makes the trade-off of like deciding which of the neutrals you're going to go for, which so often, at least in the games that I'm in, both the neutral buffs get taken within a minute of each other. Whatever team won at the throw pit typically will get the spirit buff thereafter. So I think that there's now an argument to be made where you say, you know what, we've already stacked 3 earth spirits, 4th earth is up now. That's going to be a huge advantage for us. They will get this, but it's only the first, of this oh my gosh, I'm totally blanking. Prime Guardian. Yeah, it's the first Prime Guardian, not that big of a deal, but 4th earth spirit, that could make our tanks unstoppable. Or it's a fire, right? Like, so hard, combat power. Bro, this is going to give our carries every bit of damage that they need to carry us through the end game. Because as we all know, post 20 minutes, the game starts to really fall more into a passive area. Having both buffs mean a lot and add a lot more, because you know exactly which one's coming from the very beginning of the game. I think is to me is significant. I do see the drawbacks, of course, but I think the way the game is currently, it adds more value than it takes away. But I'm definitely open to being disagreed with, because I don't know the full shakedown. We've only been playing on it for like a week.
I think that this change is a band-aid fix.
Yeah.
I think the Prime Spirits before never felt impactful. Other than the debuff they put on turrets, that felt always impactful.
Sure.
Right? But the buff that your team is getting, because it was random every time and you rarely got the same one twice, it never felt like they added up to anything. Wind Spirit especially, Water Spirit especially, Earth and Fire were definitely on the stronger side of the spirits, but even still, one Earth or Fire Spirit doesn't do a ton for your team. We've talked about in Predecessor that when that 4th Fangtooth is coming up, if your team's getting their 4th Fangtooth, that is worth more than Prime. And in this version of the spirits in Overprime, that is also the case, where you can have certain moments where it's more valuable than Prime Guardian, right? If your team has been building up the right way or has the right ones or the right heroes or whatever. Whereas before, you never got to that point where I would ever think Spirit is valuable over Prime Underling or Prime Guardian. I also think the change that they need to look at is dropping Prime Underling on Spirit to do 2,000 damage.
Yes.
Because if you have Prime Underling, if you lose Prime Spirit, you're throwing. There's no reason you should be losing that. If it's contested, you drop Prime Underling at 2k, your team gets it no matter what.
And all the damage on the enemies.
Way to take I think that's an unhealthy way to take the objective.
100%. And we talked about this before, and I would be okay with this change. Something similar, kind of, maybe not exactly like League of Legends does it, but like the first or maybe even second are random, and then it goes to a consistent one as the third one. That's fine. I think I would be fine with that. Like, where there's still a little bit of randomness early, and then it gets more stacking for the later games. And again, you still have that same like, do we give this one away, or do we let it, or this is too important? And the same thing, hopefully, if your enemy team is paying attention, bro, this is their fourth Fire Spirit. We cannot let them get that. It's too strong. We have to be there to contest it or whatever. And obviously, I know in lower and solo queues, you're probably not going to have that as much. It's going to be a lot more random, but the game's going to be random anyway, so it doesn't matter. So really, this is like impactful in the higher echelon of organized gameplay. So I think at this point, it's just a waiting game and to see how much it really shakes out and changes things. And I'm sure they're tracking it to see how much it'll be impacting.
Yeah, they said that this could very well be a temporary.
Yeah.
Music and affection, who knows when they're going to fix it, but it is definitely widely reported. The rubber band effect when you use a dash or when you use...
Yeah,
I think that's somewhat intentional, though.
Is it?
What? No.
Like they wanted, not rubber banding, but they wanted you to go in and then the camera follows you.
Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about.
Okay.
No, I mean like when you do a dash and it shows you somewhere and you start casting other abilities and then it jumps you 5 feet to the left.
Okay.
That's terrible. At least that's what I think he's talking about. Maybe not. But yeah, that effect still very much exists in the game and it drives me insane.
It's more noticeable on higher ping. And for those of us on the West Coast who can't get West Coast games and have to play on the East Coast, and you're at 110 ping, you notice the rubber banding.
Let's go with the Penitent of Confinement. I'm not going to go through all the nerfs, but Penitent of Confinement was nerfed. It's kind of a mage tank item. And Sweet Life, another mage tank item, was nerfed. It was just this is just standard builds for everybody to take these. You didn't really give up a whole hell of a lot of damage by getting some magical resistance. And they nerfed them both. I still build these on occasion. I still see people building them. I just don't see them as often.
Yeah, it's not a must take now like it was before, but it's still a valid item in a lot of scenarios, which I think is a good way to make adjustments for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Agreed. They did the same thing with Mana Black Hole, but that's not an item I've hardly ever see built, and I hardly ever built it myself.
Yeah.
I saw it on a Chimera yesterday.
Yeah?
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, super fun.
So all the caster heroes, I'm not going to go through all of these changes, but the caster heroes just in general, just like we talked about with Predecessor, but they kind of they increase their base damage while lowering their scaling a little bit for a lot of the casters. Just across the board for Overprime, they increased the scaling but decreased the base damage. So they just kind of redistributed the damage, so you don't do as much damage early, but you do a little bit more damage late game.
Yeah, I think that's a valid change. Soul Reaper, a great point. Where is the green gem nerf? I actually would rather they don't nerf the green gem. I think they need to buff the other gems to compensate.
I literally said that right under. Yeah, exactly.
I don't think green gem is strong. I think the other gems are weak.
Yeah, it's the strongest option because it's just
because the others are terrible.
They're just bad.
And I don't think these changes to mages have really changed the game a whole hell of a lot. Made it to where they can't just show up in your lane and blow up the ADC.
Yeah,
at level 3 anymore. The hero balance changes. Xena's leap through time, fully charged damage increment adjusted. Before it was 50%, now it's 30% because she was able to clear entire waves with her right click. She can't do that anymore.
I hate it.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I do.
You're the only one that plays Xena.
Well, I do play a lot of Xena, but the thing is that so maybe again, there could be something that I don't know in the like higher levels of gameplay or whatever. It doesn't full clear like at level 1. Like you still need to earn up like items and all that stuff. And I don't know. I think it was the wrong way to try and do what they're accomplishing. I think it's not.
There is no other single ability that does as much damage to an entire wave at level 1 than Xena's right click. That is insane. It absolutely
I
needed
can't
a nerf.
dispute you because I don't know. I haven't looked at every other level 1 ability and how much
But
damage it
nobody
does.
has an ability that can hit the entire minion wave that's doing that much damage.
The only
Faye
one
certainly isn't doing that much
there's
damage to a
very
minion
few
wave.
abilities that can hit an entire minion wave to begin with.
And then when you're doing as much damage as you are with Xena right click full charge through a minion wave, that puts every minion at half or less. Wild.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
I don't know. I think it was a needed change. I don't think Xena really needs too much in the way of nerfs, but this one was a decent one.
It makes you all in. Like, you now don't have your escape anymore. You don't have any other things. You're now fully halfway down the lane because you wanted to clear minions. Nobody else has to deal with that when they're trying to clear minions.
Okay.
Just saying. Yeah, you know what? You guys don't play Xena. I don't want to hear your opinions.
And then her ultimate, I 100% agree with this nerf. They nerfed her the damage on her ultimate a bit because she does go completely immune to damage during her ultimate, which has pissed me off on numerous occasions with especially Countess.
I will say this one's okay. I'm more upset with the right click than this. This makes sense. Because again, for exactly that, you can go under tower and get a free, ultimate off, and maybe either you might get an execute or whatever. Plus, then you get your reset on your right click, so now you can right click away and get out. It was too free in those. The problem where I see it is that it drastically reduces her effectiveness in team fights, and that's a bit of an unfortunate, because she's an assassin who can't blow up anybody, and she could only blow people up late game with items and the damage that came from her ultimate. Now she doesn't get any of that, and so she's way more, I don't know,
she's not an assassin, so she's not
but that's what she's supposed to be, as an assassin. But
they've labeled her that. That's not the right label for her. She's not an assassin.
I'm just telling you what it is, okay? I didn't design the game. I'm just telling you what it is, okay? Anyway,
next change, Muriel just overall was nerfed.
Yep, needed 100%.
Yep, 100% needed.
Super strong, but needed.
Like not only does her shields are less now, but the scaling is also a little bit less, and then the speed buff duration from her right click has been nerfed a little bit. Yeah, Muriel needed a nerf. She's still stupid fucking strong after really this, strong. But not as strong, which is
the only reason why I don't like it is because at least Muriel was somebody who was like relatively new player friendly, and people who would get put into support and didn't want to play support could play Muriel and be successful at it because her kit was good. The hard part was that it made people who are really good on Muriel way too good on Muriel. So I understand the changes, but I think it puts people who are new to the game or people who are playing off role at a pretty significant disadvantage on what I would consider a starter champion, which is a bit unfortunate. I don't know how to adjust it either way, but she's still really strong.
I really like Muriel. Even though her right click is a lock on, there's still a lot of skill expression in her kit. Like knowing when to use her slow and when to combo that slow with the shield, or just use the shield naked. There's a lot of skill expression. I really like that.
Real quick before we move on too far, because Ruba pointed out something, and I want to get your guys' take, because maybe you know more about it than I do, but he said the rubber banding is a lack of client prediction or poor client prediction. One of the downsides of not using GAS. I'm not sure what GAS is.
Gameplay ability system.
Oh, cool. Does that ring any trueness to you guys? Because it doesn't really mean a whole lot to me.
It's entirely possible that's the problem. Okay. Without knowing how their game is coded, it's hard to really make a 100% determination one way or the other.
Fair enough. I just didn't really know what a lot of it meant, so I figured I'd get you guys to make it make sense.
We just know it's a problem and they need to fix it.
The gameplay ability system is effectively, to boil it down to really, 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 really simple terms, It's like a management system of abilities. Like that you can determine how abilities function, work in terms of with the servers and all that kind of stuff. Again, very boiled down version of that. But so it is a useful feature, but it's not a necessary feature. There are plenty of games that don't use gas that exist and don't have that problem.
Got it.
Rampage, his Q, the rock throw, the stun has been reduced from 2 seconds to 1.5 seconds, which is good. That 2 seconds is way too long. 1.5 seconds still feels way too long, but it's understandable. It's a hard to hit ability.
It is hard to hit.
People think it's easy until they play Rampage, and then they realize that it's not that easy to hit those rocks. So you should be rewarded for hitting them, but not that rewarded. A full 2 seconds is for fucking ever. Murdoch Shock Bullet, his pushback, the knockback amount has been reduced, which was very much needed.
I haven't been sent to the other ends of the earth by that ability since this patch, which is great.
Twin Blast mobility, that has also been nerfed. He was able to jump so fucking far with his mobility. I'm glad they nerfed that a little well.
Mm-hmm.
Steel's wall has been reduced from 6 seconds to 4 seconds, which is also a nice little bit of a nerf because his wall is stupid.
Stupid amazing.
Yeah, it's stupid strong.
You did that a great video that I got to be part of, and we showcased how strong the wall can be. This is a really good, I think, because it forces, again, it's a long cooldown, and only having it up for 4 seconds versus 6 seconds makes a huge difference, especially in those team fights over neutral objectives and all that stuff. I've noticed it in games where it's just like, okay, I can still play. It's not like, hey, you guys don't get to play the game. You're just done now. Like it's definitely a needed fix, while still making him feel powerful and strong in the ways that he should be. And anyway, sorry.
Revenant, they just fixed it where his reload, if you got to I think it was 1.8 attack speed, it was just an instant reload, so it was just like there was no reload at all, really. So they fixed that. Not that big of a deal. Faye has been buffed. Her link, the range has been buffed from 14 to 15, and the D-link range has been buffed from 16 to 17. I actually have seen a lot more phases in the game and a lot more mid lane phases in the game since this. When they nerfed that, it completely destroyed Faze as a mid lane option. Now I think she's back as a mid lane option, and people still don't quite understand. People still look at her as a support, and they don't quite understand how freaking strong she can be as a mid lane mage. She can just blow people up.
Her Q does so much damage.
And it blinds. It's
her Q and her ult both. It's wild.
It's so much damage.
I wish Rampage Rock did that much damage.
Shinbi, her Phantom Dance, before it's her E skill that makes her wolves circle around her. Before it increased her movement speed whenever they hit. Now it recovers HP in proportion to the damage, and that HP goes up the more you level it up. A lot of people were complaining about this. This isn't just so. This is a huge change. This is a major change for Shinbi. This is I always felt that Shinbi was really good, but not really for new players. Now this brings Shinbi back up as one of the better mid laners, I think.
I think rid of this was a weird choice to begin with, and bringing it back is absolutely warranted.
I'm glad it's back. I think it's still kind of meh in the amount that it does. It's not. I don't know. I guess I want the values a little bit higher. Maybe I'm off, and other people disagree with me. I don't think that this made her super strong. It definitely doesn't make her overpowered in any way, and she's still very squishy. That 3%, 5%, it just, I don't know. To me, it takes too long to come online to be viable. You still almost always need to get Archons to be able to, because she gets so far into fights, she dies so fast. She gets CC'd once and she's dead. Like, it's just like, I don't know, you really lose that mage assassin type stuff that it seems like she kind of wants to be. And I don't know. I don't think it really does all that much to make her more sustainable in team fights, especially in solos. Right, when you're just in a solo fight, absolutely it's fine, but when you start getting into team fights, and she just, I don't know, I just don't notice that much of the healing really coming through.
I mean, I'm still building Archon's Gospel on her for that increased healing, but I think this was just I think this was a huge change. I think this adds just a little bit more sustain to her kit, and also just early game, gadget lands a mine on you. Now you just go into the middle of the enemy wave. You're clearing the wave while healing up all the damage that mine just did. So not only are you negating gadgets damage, you're clearing the wave.
I'm surprised that Viking actually doesn't like this change, because this is the exact concept
I do like the change.
Disliked about Muriel. That this opens up for new players to actually pick up the character and expands on the upper limits of the character, but it's not necessarily trying to be the overpowered change that is going to make her the strongest mid laner in the game or the strongest off laner or whatever it is.
I do like the change. I thought it was stupid that they took away the healing in the first place. I don't know what the values were before, but when the values previously felt like she was able to stay in the shit a little bit more, and right now I don't think that she does. And maybe it's, making people have to, level E faster, because getting to 10 and 12.5%, that's huge. But that's like late game. Now people are beefier, they're stronger anyway. It's going to start to kind of negate itself as time goes on. So unless you're maxing E first, I don't know. I don't agree with Mingus, but maybe I haven't played her enough. But where if you get, because I don't know of a single mid laner that's just going to let you go up to a wave and just do damage and heal off of it for free. They're going to throw their other abilities on you and chunk you out some more. So you're not going to actually sustain from it. I mean, unless they're trolling and they're just going to let you do that. I don't have those people in my games. So I don't just get to go up and do a minion wave and full heal off of it.
I mean, you got to be smart about it. Like, you can't, like, Gadget throws a mine on you.
The wave.
But she also usually throws that Seek and Destroy too. And what she does, what she throws both of those, then that's when you step into the wave and heal up all that damage.
Again, just this is my personal play. I'm glad it's there, first of all. Okay. So I don't want it to sound like I want to remove it. I do not. I like the healing there. I thought it was dumb that they took it away. I think that they could up the values a little bit. That's all I'm saying. Just not a lot. I don't want it to be broken. Make it 3.5% or 4% at level 1, and after that, I don't know. I just think, and it's adjustable, but I think it's not enough currently. Personally.
Well, let's move on here. Additional improvements, quality of life improvements to smart key settings. It's still not hero specific, but now you just hit the escape button and you can assign all your smart keys at the beginning of the game. Makes it a little easier, but
it's nice.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's a quality of life improvement.
If you just always use smart casting and get used to it, then it's fine. It doesn't matter. You don't need this menu.
Some abilities are just better not on SmartCast.
Penalty system improved. If a player quits the game due to errors, their penalties will be eased upon re-entry. This next one's a huge one. Login Netmarble logo screen volume adjusted. I know a lot of people were complaining about that.
It's still kind of loud, but yeah, it's better.
This one I haven't really seen any evidence of. In-game English announcer improved.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it.
Now it just seems to me that instead of hearing triple kill like 5 minutes later, I just don't ever hear triple kill after I get a triple kill.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is there.
When you got your pentakill, was it yesterday or was that today or yesterday?
Yeah,
yesterday.
He seemed to be Johnny on the spot with people. He seemed to be Johnny on the spot for some reason, the announcer. Like, he was immediately like, pentakill. I'm like, whoa, that was fucking fast for the Overprime announcer.
I got the penta after the third one was being said, so it took 2 full ones for it to be realized, but yeah. Well, here's the biggest buff of this entire patch. Oh my god.
The hero selection time has been increased.
Oh, you know what? I was wrong. I skipped that one. No, screw that. That's garbage change. Theme change. Agnes winter map is gone.
Thank God. Oh, it was so cool at first. It was so cool for like a week, and then it was
100%.
like, oh, get the snow the fuck out of here. It looks so bright and so more bright and colorful now.
We all were. I'm still not sure. We got back into game and we're like, did they change the colors or like is it like more saturated? I don't know. Mangus isn't convinced that it's been changed, but I think it has. I think that they improved it a little bit in some ways, but it could just be that we, like Jelly talked about last week, we played so long on that map over comparatively to the normal map that we just aren't used to it. It's funny though. It is. Well, I'm happy it's back.
Yeah.
It's good to be back home. What do you think about the icons? I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. I haven't hard noticed it, but have you guys noticed a big change, like as far as like the icons popping up on the UI?
I've heard a lot of people say, yeah.
100%. I hate it. Actually, I thought I would love it. The part of the reason I hate it is something that they can fix. When I pinged danger ping, like don't go here, stop. Big red thing right on screen, right? If that's in front of you, you're seeing red thing popping up 4 or 5 times. You go, okay, maybe I need to reconsider. Now it's the normal green outline that says like watch out or careful. And that to me is it looks too similar to other pings that now that ping is way less valuable to my team. And I'll do that. I'll gank a lane they keep chasing after something after I'm leaving, and I'll turn around and just 4 or 5 times quickly hit the careful ping to let them know that there's something else going on. And like I said, big red thing on screen, very clear and indicates something is going on. The same green thing as every other ping doesn't do much for me.
I do think they need to still work on the pings, but yeah, hearing you say it that way does make sense.
Improved visibility of shield decrease on the health bar. I haven't really noticed that. Competitive mode added to custom game mode. We witnessed that. Jelly and I cast Paragon Competitive League last night, and they were able to just do a straight up draft mode. They had planned to do some kind of weird coin flip thing, but they ended up just doing just straight up. Jungle monster recognition reset process improved.
Yes.
Now, actually, because of a comment on one of my YouTube videos, I know what this is. There's a yellow bar underneath the health bar of anything that you're fighting. The lower it gets, the closer it is to just resetting. So now you have a visual indicator on the health bar of the buff that lets you know how close you are to just resetting that son of a bit.
I will caveat this with that is sometimes I've gone up to these objectives plenty of times where that bar doesn't exist.
Oh, really?
It didn't load this time I entered their health bar range. And so that part's frustrating. Or I've had it times where it's empty to start. And so I'm fighting the thing and it's empty, but it's not de-aggroing or anything like that. So I'm not quite sure what's going on with the bar. So it definitely has some bugs it needs worked out, but overall, great change, 100%.
Yeah. I was going to say the same thing. I think what I've noticed is when I'm coming in and somebody's already started fighting it, I don't always get the bar letting me know that they've pulled it too far or they're about to pull it too far or anything like that. So it is a little bit buggy, but overall, a good idea and change.
Party invite feature added to the bottom right of the friends list and main screen.
Sure.
I'll have noticed this.
I noticed it, but it's fine.
Spectator systems improvements. Did you notice any improvements, Jelly, while you were spectating?
I hated every moment of the spectator.
I was going to ask about that.
I think the changes they made are valuable. However, they changed the functionality of how it used to work. Before these changes, when you're in spectator mode, when you hit any of the numbers 1 through 10, goes to that hero, and you can turn your camera around them, no problem, to see what they're looking at. And then if you hit any kind of movement on WASD, then the camera moves off of that character and you can fly around and kind of get a different view as to what's going on.
Makes
really
sense.
Intuitive, simple way to do things. The new system, you hit the button, you look at a character, you get to see all of their abilities and items and everything.
Okay.
If you hit WASD, it doesn't do jack crap. You're still on the character. Then, in order to lose their HUD and be able to get a further zoomed out view, and I was wrong. When you hit 1 through 10, you're getting their view, their camera, every single thing. You cannot move the camera. You cannot move off of them other than selecting a different hero. To move your camera and actually look around and zoom out a little bit further, but still being controlled by their location, you hit spacebar and you can use the mouse wheel to zoom in and out, and then you can move the camera independently of where they're looking. However, I could not quickly find a way to actually release that camera to get a bigger view of what was going on. I'm sure it exists somewhere that there's a button I have to press, but I couldn't quickly, the buttons that I knew were doing something didn't make that happen. It only unlocked the camera when a person died that I was watching. So if I was watching someone that died, then the camera unhooked from them and I could move it around independently. That sucks. Change compared to... Especially because WASD didn't do anything in the new version, still let that unhook the camera. Let me be able to detach it and actually get a grander scale of things rather than... I'm okay with the spacebar thing. I think getting their view versus getting a wider view but still being attached to them is a cool idea that allows for different variations. But I need to be able to detach the camera to get a much larger view, especially if there's a fight going on around the prime pit. That's such a large area that one person's view is not going to give me enough perspective to be able to accurately look at everything that's going on in the game.
I wonder if there's something, and this is not to diminish what you're discussing, but if it's something within the industry, what we're familiar with, in other MOBAs and how they do multi spectator broadcasts and stuff like that, where you have people focus on different things and doing different things, and so it makes it easier. I'm just spitballing. Makes it easier to do that, but in like a solo or duo cast thing where you have people controlling it and casting, it might not work as efficiently as you want it to. That'd be the only thing I can think of, is that there's somehow.
I would have no complaints if WASD unlocked
Just did stuff. Okay.
That's literally my biggest complaint out of this whole thing.
Fair enough.
In-game hero portraits, change to default portraits, whatever. Graphics definition feature added to settings. I know this has been helping a few people out. It does look, was it somebody said it looks like Borderlands if you increase it too much.
Yeah.
Hero portrait size adjusted. The Faye's model was renewed, so Faye has longer hair and a prettier face, I think.
I think she looks great.
Yeah, I think she looks really good.
They need to fix the skin a little bit more, because she's still a little weird in the purple skin.
Yeah.
But her other two more based style skins, big fan.
Respawn inhibitor icons have been added to the minimap, so now a respawn inhibitor doesn't have the circle around it, so it's a little easier to tell when that's a weaker inhib.
If while you're doing things to the minimap, make the health bars on the minimap actually the health of the thing.
Yeah.
Stop letting me hit it one time and it lose a third of its bar on the minimap.
Just because it passed a certain threshold, yeah. XP gain balance has been adjusted. That's just for account XP. Bug fixes. I'm not going to go through all these bug fixes, but
please don't.
Yeah. They fixed Countess and Kalari, and that's Jelly and I's main thing.
I want them, and I know Jelly's going to immediately agree with this, but I want them to remove vision from the dead inhibs, revealing stealth characters. Stupid as fuck. There's no reason you would have won that game if you would have been able to stealth through.
We lost the game because of it.
Yep. There's no reason why a dead inhibitor.
At 1%. Yep. I'm on Kalari, fed, really pretty fed.
Mm-hmm.
And go invis. The dead inhib reveals me. Enemy team immediately pops me, pushes, and wins the game.
Yep. And not only that, but it's not just in the circle of the inhib. Like if you go past the little pathway that's in between the two inhibs, that's also revealed. And so you can't even like stealthily get into the section. It's stupid. It's too big, and it's no. And I'm not all about giving the most broken jungler in the game more agency, but I think that's dumb, and I think it's only for her, because I don't think that the stealth from Wraith breaks. It does. Okay, maybe I haven't seen it.
So if it breaks for her, it breaks for him.
I haven't seen it, but maybe I'm wrong. I'll trust you on it. Maybe other people in chat can correct me, but it's stupid either way. So that's it.
All right. We got any just final thoughts on the patch before we move on to the questions?
No. I mean, again, I think a good, healthy patch, another beefy one. I appreciate. I think that this one, so far in playing it, feels a little bit less successful than I think the predecessor one's going to be. But
we thought also before this patch that this was going to be a huge change to the game.
I know it really wasn't. It still feels fairly similar to previous things. Like, I mean, the movement speed is probably the biggest thing that I notice the most when I go into travel mode. It's not nearly as fast. All the other stuff is just whatever. Okay, sure. Still fun to play, by the way. And the skins are great, of course, but not anything major to me where I'm like, oh, the game feels exponentially better to play, and now the meta is so different. We got to really kind of it's okay. Something felt a little flat.
I said that there was a large thing missing from predecessor's patch, and I think there's a large thing missing from this patch, though we know it's now coming because of messages in their Discord. The smite changes.
Yeah.
Yes.
the sorely missing, again, a large problem in the game of you're getting 3-4 people running smite. I had a game yesterday where I killed the jungler in my head, no smite on the map.
Yep.
Go to take an objective and somebody else smites it away from me. And in my head, I was just like, well, wait, huh? And then tab menu, sure enough, 3 people on their team running smite.
Yep.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, that defeats the purpose of killing the jungler. The jungler doesn't mean anything anymore if everyone can grab smite.
Big true. Wait, so they're talking about making the change? What did they say anything specific?
No specifications on what the change is going to be, but
just they're looking at it.
Honestly, the only change you really need to make it fine is reduce the amount of XP and gold you get from minions if you have the smite, the destroyer stone, and it's over, you take over 3 minions in a row, right? Like League of Legends does that exact same concept of, if you have smite, you get less minions when you're in lane if you've taken over a certain amount, or less XP and gold from minions if you've taken over a certain amount.
Yeah.
Yes, that allows you to split push lanes and be effective for your team still, and still get rewarded for that effectiveness, but not forcing you, letting laners take the item and just completely run away with the game because they have 4 smites on their team.
I mean, for me, I would rather they just make it to where if your position in game is jungler, that you get another action ability that you can use that is smite, and allow junglers to have a starter stone like everybody else. Give them a red stone or green stone or whatever, and it is what it is to me. And let smite purely be just to last, like to execute, not any other buffs or any other ability power. It literally just smites at a scaling based off your level like it currently does. That would be the only other fix that I would advocate for. And just have no other multiple smites at all. Because I agree. I think it does. It diminishes the role of the jungler, and it makes it I shouldn't have to be like constantly pressing tab to see if, hey, they're coming in. Oh fuck, all 5 of them have smite, and they're just gonna wait while we're in the throw pit, and they're just all, especially in a 5v5 where it's like competitive. Okay, all of us jump in, steal ult, and we all hit smite at the same time, and they're just fucked, and there's nothing they can do about it. It just they win the game. No,
similarly to saying that prime underling shouldn't be able to use to execute other objectives. It's 4 smites is the same thing as having a prime underling effect. It's honestly even better than having a prime underling on objectives.
In some cases,
you really all go, okay, 3, 2, 1, and 4,000 damage just off the map right there.
We've been in games together where, because I've been in solo lane and I've been able to gain more XP, I'm like level 12 or 13 and you're maybe level 10, and my smite is higher than yours because I just bought smite, and it does it. So you are now even a worse jungler than I am. Like I can do more than you because I went and bought an item. I sacrificed 350 gold to be able to secure objectives. Nah, get out of here. They just need to change it. It's stupid. It's dumb. Anyway.
My overall impressions of the patch is I kind of don't like it. I like that Overprime is different, is like a more fast-paced MOBA. It's more on the TPS side than the MOBA side, and this patch is kind of moving away from that. It's whatever. I know. I think I said this on Pop, but like, if I want a third-person straight up traditional MOBA, then I've got Predecessor, and Predecessor is fucking fantastic for what it is. But when I play Overprime, I don't want to be playing Predecessor. I want to be playing like a new, fun, fast thing. So I don't like any changes that deviate away from that. But I don't know.
I mean, I still think it's there, but I agree with you.
It's still there, but
I want Overprime to feel like Overprime. I do want there to be a little bit more macro or a little bit more like meaningful decision making and gameplay, and I want past 20 minutes to mean something, because even with these changes, after 20 minutes it's still a stale off of, okay, are we all just going to stand and jerk each other off in mid lane until something comes up again? Because that's what it seems like, and then you're just standing in bushes jerking each other off, waiting for somebody to say, I'm going to go in now. And then they do, or someone gets caught out. It's lame in that aspect, but still fun to play. It's weird how it is that way. You'd think I'd be not wanting to play it at all, but it's still kind of fun. Anyway, I'm done with talking about Overprime. I apologize. We can get into the Discord questions if you want to.
Yeah, let's get into these questions in Discord. The first one's from I'm Stranger. What would you do differently as the CEO of Soul Leave and or Omega, hypothetically, with a limited amount of money, and if money was no objection as well?
Whew, that's a big question. Do we want to split it up, like where we do like pick a studio and then answer it with money and no money?
I think keep your answer simple and it won't be a problem.
Okay.
Don't get into the complexities of I'd spend $5 million over here.
No.
$10 million over there. A very high level. This is what I would change.
Okay, so you sound like you got an idea. What would you do if you're the CEO of Soul Leave?
I think absolutely they need to increase their level of communication as to what they want for their game. Not necessarily what they want players to want for their game, what their inspiration is, right? They're saying that they're creating a MOBA. Great. A lot of players are upset at the fact that this is not the MOBA's MOBA, right? And they don't address that at all. We've seen them backflip on their identity half a dozen times at this point already. And I would rather see them say, this is what we want to be, and give a very clear definition of what they're looking for and what they're striving for, and then have the community respond accordingly to that. And they can make informed decisions. But this, like, their vagueness on what they're trying to be, and then backflipping every time they make a change that's pretty drastic, feels terrible. And the community is getting whiplashed around because of it.
And if money was an object or no object,
To me, this is not a money problem.
fair enough.
I don't think for either studio it's a money problem, frankly.
What about
for solely for me, if I had a limited amount of money, which I don't think they do, like Jelly said, I would just stick to my vision of what I want the game to be. Let Ranger take the lanes and go for it. Reigns and go for it. If I was Omega and had a limited amount of money, what would I do to increase to better the game? I think they should go with Overprime's route and leverage the community to advertise for them, because they do have a very loyal community that would do that. They wouldn't even have to offer rewards of the same caliber as Soul Eve in order to leverage their community to do these things, but start flooding TikTok with your community's posts about Predecessor and flooding YouTube Shorts and all that stuff. They have access to a lot of free advertising, and that's what I would do if I was CEO of Omega, is I would tap into that rabid community that I have, and leverage the fan base for the betterment of the game overall.
I mean, and at least on Twitter, and I know you're not on Twitter, they do that a little bit. Like, they showcase different creators and like popping off on various ones, usually every day, if not a couple times a day. But I agree with you. I think it would be cooler if it was like on a bigger scale. You can also steal a little bit. I mean, Overprime does like, greatest moments or whatever it is every week. It seems like they put out like a montage of plays.
Breathtaking moments. I think Meta does the same thing though.
Do they? Oh, maybe I've missed it, and that's on me if I've missed it. But I agree though that there's something. I think if I was the CEO and money was no object, I would be. I don't care that the games are in early access. I would be leveraging big content creators. I sent out a tweet today just as a joke, well, kind of as a joke, but hoping that maybe on an off chance, I would love to see somebody like Shroud playing Overprime. Shroud on like Kalari would probably be hilariously awesome, because he likes to play like, high APM champions when he's playing like RPGs and stuff like that. He likes rogues, those kind of champions. I think he would love the idea of playing a Kalari. Obviously, everybody sees Shroud and thinks, okay, he's like, an FPS player, but that guy loves RPGs. And so I could see him, really gravitating to a game like Overprime and the speed of Overprime. I don't think he would hate a Predecessor. A Predecessor's a lot slower, and I think Shroud's a high action type guy. I would be paying for Shroud and his group of streamers to play the games. That's what I would be doing. And same thing for Pred. I would be looking for streamers, big streamers that would match, like, I don't know, Asmongold. Get Asmon to play. He hates League of Legends. He hates the idea of playing a MOBA like that, but maybe he would like to play a third-person MOBA that's not Smite. You know what I mean? So get an Asmongold or somebody in that same theme to come and play your games. That's where I would be putting the money, is in getting you. The thing that both these games need is players. It's a shame to me that these West Coast servers especially are dead on both games. Like, it's really hard to get games on West Coast, and I hate the fact that I have to play on 100 plus ping to play the games that I want to play, because there's not enough players playing in my area. And I think that that's a huge red flag, and something that a lot of people talk about is whether or not, I mean, even today, James, we're playing on East Coast, trying to get into a game so you can finish your promotion.
Yeah, but I think that's more to do with promos and not to do with the player base. Because again,
maybe
right before that, no problem.
I know. I don't know why
I hit promos couldn't get into a game. That's a promos problem, similar to the placements problem.
Yeah, and you might be right. I don't know. Either way, I just that's how I look at it. Is that they need to get some. They need to get some big players with big audiences playing these games and showcasing how good it is. I mean, Hood, massive benefit from getting Shroud in their team to play their game. I mean, how many people were playing that game and it grew? It was like one of the top games on
Unfortunately, they couldn't fix that fucking game to make it a viable fucking video game, but
but they had a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like the influx of amount of people playing that game and rooting for it. That was the thing that was so devastating about Hood, right? Was that there was not only people, they wanted that game to be good because it had potential, right? And I think these games have that same opportunity. They just need more players, and so that's what I would do with the money. Is I would do it that way. That's my answer to this. It's a very good question, but that's what I would do.
if I had all the money in the world, and this applies to both Soul Leave and Omated, I would be doing crossover tie-ins with other IP.
100%.
That's a good one too.
100%. Smite benefits immensely from those crossovers. And I'd be looking to do crossovers everywhere you go. 100%.
I think that answers that one. Are you guys ready to move on to the next question?
Yep.
Please.
Come from Ike the Funny. Regular MOBAs have a lot of CC, but Paragon never had some CC that should be added, and I can't wait for both games to add them. These include taunts, fears, trembles, banishes, disarms, and drunks. The question is, do you all want to see if any heroes should get some of these? Like, I think Grux's Warlord's Challenge should be a taunt.
Yes.
I kind of agree with that. It is Warlord's Challenge, but all it does is increases fucking attack speed and causes him to sap people's fucking attack power, and yeah.
Well, in OP it does a small stun, right? So like you can benefit from that. I do wish there was more CC, like variances of the CC, like fears or whatever. Like banishes is a really good one. I like that. That's another fun one. And there's ample amount of opportunity, and you can see it in every RPG game of that. There's all kinds of cool, fun ways. I think a taunt would be super fun. It just makes sense that, especially like tower divers, you know, hey, I'm going to taunt you, and now you're taking tower damage. Don't come under here. You know what I mean? Yeah. We're gonna get into it.
I would like to point out that Ethereal has both a taunt technically and a fear already in their game.
Yeah.
It's not taunt, it's charm, but they're literally the same mechanic. But yes, but more of these games should have more of those effects. Absolutely. I think in a 3D MOBA, there's a balancing issue comparatively to a top down that you have to work around a little bit more. But I think overall, these are sorely missed in a vast majority of cases. There's a lot more opportunity for CC to be interesting and different rather than just a stun or a slow.
What I'm thinking here, and here's the Storm. They introduced Gul'dan, and one of his ultimates was an AoE fear. And I was like, and pretty much everybody was like, well, who fucking cares? That ultimate was so fucking effective because you just displaced the entire enemy team. Now think about it in like Predecessor or Overprime. If you did an AoE fear, people would be like walking off the edges of shit and just would not be able to get back into a team fight. Like a fear, just not even an AoE fear, just a single target fear would be incredibly effective, I think, in any one of these games.
Yeah,
I agree. Absolutely. I think you could steal off of World of Warcraft's PvP to an extent. So they have it to where you can't get feared off of things, but like, because the game won't allow you, you'll just run around and whatever. But you'll get to an edge, and if you're dumb and not paying attention that you're on the edge and hit the W key, you might go off the edge then. But the fear itself won't send you off the edge. But I'm okay even if that's present in the game. You would be hilarious if you get feared and then you end up going through the portal or something. That would be hilarious. But I think that there is an opportunity, even to Jelly's credit, of saying that, like, you know, it could be a little bit wonky. There are other games that work within the 3D space that use all those CCs and have proven to be successful. Steal those ideas. I don't give a shit if you're stealing what is arguably one of the best PvP games in World of Warcraft's PvP and bringing that into a 3D MOBA like this, because I think it can work. And a lot of these games come from the roots of a mod from World of Warcraft or from Warcraft 3, where all those things are present. So I think it's very viable, and I would love to see that iterated into the games in some capacity.
What about mind control?
Yeah. Dude, honestly, I think I still disagree. I think that I don't know how it would be balanced, but I could definitely see there being value in having like a single target mind control, because in World of Warcraft, if you mind control somebody, you can't move either. You're stationary and stuck. And so yes, you can move them and do stuff like that, but people can, you know, now focus on you. Hey, that guy's just standing and not moving. Like, let's just all focus him while he's sending our AD carry running that way or whatever. I think that there's ways to balance around it, and I think it'd be hilarious and fun.
Again, here's the Stormhound Sylvanas that had a mind control as one of her ultimates.
Mm-hmm.
And as a channeled ability, you would stand in place and mind control somebody. And when you would think that you would mind control somebody and then, just walk them straight into your team. But what you would do is you would mind control somebody, use all of their abilities, pop any of their actives and shit, just waste all of their shit at once. So they were pretty much useless after you mind controlled them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would like to see a lot more fun forms of CC other than just stun, root, blow.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
100%.
I think that answers that question. Mr. Ghost, I've recently been introduced to some fault content and was shown how much deeper the core gameplay loop is compared to PTO and Pred. My question is, do you feel the games lack depth, and what types of things would you like to see added to increase the depth?
That's a big question. That's one I saw this one and I wasn't sure exactly. So I've even had time to think about it. I think for Pred, I think they need to speed up the game a little bit, and I'm not entirely sure exactly how, but that's what it feels really slow at times. And when it's slow, it feels boring. And that's very vague, and I apologize that it's so vague. I don't know. I'm not a dev. I don't know how to get into the inner workings and make those things happen. It's just a feeling, right? And so sometimes a feel is a feel. PTO lacks, I think, chess style macro, and it removes people from feeling like they're playing a game that requires them to think. I'm okay with it being more action oriented and fast paced like it is, but I also don't like that the game doesn't feel like a lot of what the macro choices don't really matter except for where it's in the neutrals, right? Like those macro choices matter. Or if you have an idiot who doesn't back when they should to save the core from dying because they're pushing, that kind of stuff, right? But those are different conversations. So I think those would be the simplest ways I could talk about. I'm sorry it's not more in depth because it's a very complicated answer in my opinion if people were to give it. But what do you guys think?
Well, I think one of the things that added to Fault's depth was their favor system. It was an outside system where you would pick two out of several different choices for affinities, and then you could put favor into those affinities to get increased gains. I like that system because your neutral objectives in Fault increased your favor. Getting the first tower increased favor, and it gave you a way to separate yourself from other players that are playing the exact same hero. So my Morgash was different from other people's Morgash because I always took a green affinity that would give me more health the more stacks of favor I put into that affinity. So I was a bit tankier, specifically because of a decision that I made at the beginning of the game. I think any kind of system that you place into the game that lets players differentiate their style of gameplay with the same hero from other players' style of gameplay with the same hero, and then builds upon that throughout the game would be a great system to add to both Predecessor or Overprime. And I think it's the reason that Fault's gameplay loop was probably a little better than both of these games are currently. People like to shit on Fault, but especially towards the very end of Fault's lifespan, they had a very good, well-established gameplay loop. You didn't have lulls in Fault like you do with both Predecessor and with Overprime. Like there was always something to do in Fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think the biggest thing, so every time somebody says gameplay loop, I struggle a bit because this is not gameplay loop and this are two different, and what you guys are talking about are not technically the same thing. But I will go with where you guys are going on this, in that they both just lack depth. They're one-dimensional through and through. It's very much a math problem. 1 + 1 = 2. If you're already have 1 and you're trying to get to 2, you just do the +1, right? Congratulations, you're doing the thing. They don't have alternate strategies to play with, really. I mean, Overprime's trying to open that up with the split pushing aspects and the changes that they've made with Wukong, but it wasn't really successful. So your gameplay boils down to laning phase for a couple minutes, team fight, when objectives are up, go to objectives, team fights, end the game. That is the boiled down, slightly to be sure, but that is what the gameplay is for both of these games. It doesn't matter which one it is, right? If you understand how you're supposed to do things in Overprime, You understand how you're basically supposed to do things in Predecessor in terms of overall gameplay of don't die, get kills, farm minions, go to objectives, team fight, win. Right? Like that's the same thing for both of them. There's no diversity in how you get to that end game objective of winning the game or pushing inhibitors or doing anything like that.
I think a gameplay loop, the actual definition of gameplay loop, is the series of actions that you perform repeatedly throughout a game in order to achieve the end state, which is winning the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the definition that I understand it as, but yes.
Okay.
For me, gameplay loop is the game. What is the loop of you going into game, playing the game, out of game, going into game?
Okay.
Going through the loop of the gameplay.
Oh, I see it more like what Mangoose described, but I understand.
A quick Google search. Gameplay loop is a game design term that is used to describe the repetitive activities that a player will take while playing a game.
Yeah, so what I said.
I guess.
Yeah. What
it's-
Mangoose said. Also, chat's frozen for the stream, by the way, Mangoose.
Oh, what?
Yep. For them to be able to read, not us. We can still, chat's still moving. They just can't see it moving on their end.
I disagree that it's what Mangoose said, because playing the game is still when I'm spending currency, when I'm waiting in the queue to get into a game, when I'm in draft mode. You are still playing the game. It is more broad than just when I'm on the map using my character.
Hopefully that fixed it.
It looks like it from what I can see. Chat was frozen just for that one guy.
All right.
Yeah, it does. It just, they both have lulls in their own way, and I mean, I play a lot more Overprime, and I've beat this horse to death. The post 20 minutes feels like garbage. The pre 20 minutes feels exciting and fun, and that's what keeps, I think, a lot of us coming back, is that pre 20 minutes. And I think a large part of it has a lot to do with what we were talking about, at least for Overprime, is that minions and pushing minions and doing all that stuff is what would probably fill the space left for waiting for objectives to come up. But because you can't realistically do that safely in Overprime because of rotations and the portals and all that stuff, you're kind of left with this, like, okay, I pushed it up halfway and now I got to just wait for it to come back to me, do it again, because that's the only real way to guarantee you're not going to get collapsed on and then die. It's tough. It's really hard. Or you meatball around from lane to lane to lane, and that's also not fun or good in a macro state. And then I would need somebody who's way more familiar with Pred and all of that to describe it, because I do think in Pred you have the opportunity to focus more on laning, and minions matter a little bit more in that game, and there's multiple towers that still need to be taken. So there's stuff that can be done and slows down the game progressively. But the loop for me was the neutrals and the control of jungle felt bad, and it was so much more important that you had control over jungle and the neutrals that the other stuff started to matter less. You just needed to gain those control points and win the game through that, and the other stuff just kind of fell in. Maybe I'm off. You guys can fill in for me, because I don't know.
I think both of them would just benefit too from just more heroes and more items in general.
Mm-hmm.
I think anytime you can differentiate the way people play, and like Jelly was saying, if you can come up with more ways to get to 2 than just 1+1, then the better your gameplay is, because your gameplay loop will change depending on your team.
Yep. Kat, I disagree with you, because what you do in the game has a direct impact on what you do out of the game, or in terms of when you're on the map. Right? If I win or lose, I gain more or less money in the game for me to spend on things in the store, whether that be skins or cosmetics of other kinds or anything like that, that then allow me to look better when I go into the game the next time. That is a game loop, because I'm doing something, getting a reward, spending that reward, going back into the game to do something.
How close is console release? I expect this year at least for Overprime, but I'm not sure.
I think that they've just given up on console. They don't want console players in their games.
No, they haven't given up on console, but we still don't have any specific dates for it.
We do not. No.
Unfortunately.
One quick thing I wanted to add, since we're kind of in not Discord, but this isn't Discord related, but it's community related. I wanted to point out, because I saw it on Twitter, and I'm sorry because I don't really know this guy that well, but CM5 Tark, or maybe it's CM Stark, I'm not sure. He's putting together a Predecessor tournament where the idea is to get $1,000 prize pool, so $5 per team that enters, I think, or something along those lines, or per person that enters. It's on Twitter, guys. Again, CM5 I retweeted it on mine. See if that's something you guys are interested in. If you're looking for a more competitive predecessor style thing, I think the idea is that it will be available when custom games are added, which is, or like the better version of the custom games, which they hinted at. So
interesting thing about that guy you just mentioned, he's actually pretty big on TikTok.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah,
I found him streaming Predecessor after I had found him on TikTok a long time ago, and I was like, what the heck? This guy plays Pred of all people?
You didn't know? But you guys didn't know Stark before this?
I didn't, but that's
really
not saying much. I don't really know.
He does not do gaming content on TikTok, but
okay.
I had no idea that he was in the community before this.
Oh, really? No shit. Yeah, I've known about him for a while. Anyway, so I think that's going to about wrap it up for this week, though. Do you guys have any final comments before we start shutting things down?
No. I'm really excited to see what the pred changes are going to be. I think this patch looks really beefy. I'm excited for it. We've talked about it already. The Overprime ones have been just kind of meh at best for me. Mm-hmm. I'm hoping that there's some hot fixes that they do to kind of maybe alleviate some of the other stuff. The bugs are rampant again, which is annoying. But yeah, we'll see. That's all I got. Really
right
beefy.
On. All right, yeah, this has been a long one, but I think we're going to start wrapping it up. Jedi, anything you want to plug? Anything? Where can they find you?
So actually, I want to again give a shout out to the new revised FTM Discord. People have been actually showing up there a lot recently and having chats and going back and forth and arguing with Jelly Knees about split pushers, and it's super cool. So continue to do that. If you want to be featured on here and get a Discord question that we went over today, you can do so in the Discord. So keep it appropriate, of course. Otherwise, we'll just delete it and not read it. But otherwise, as far as for me, I still plan to stream more. I haven't because of some other stuff going on, but on YouTube. So you can find me on the Viking Jedi here on YouTube, and you can follow me on Twitter, the Viking Jedi as well. And that's my plug.
Jelanies?
Streaming on Twitch more, and I think that's the main thing. Yeah, interact with me, get into disagreements where you're wrong and I'm right about split pushers, and yeah.
And I will say the people that asked the questions in the both for last episode and this episode that we included here, I will be giving out codes for free Renar in Overprime. I've got a fuck ton of those codes, so I gotta figure out ways to start giving these out. So yeah, there you go. You get some free. I think it's the coupons for 1,000 free Renar, 1,000 free Jeremy's. But yeah. Anyway, that is going to wrap it up for this week. Thank you so much for everybody that hung out with us in chat through the entire time. I can't believe you stuck it out for this long. This was an incredibly long one, but appreciate everybody that's watching the video. But for now, this is the For the Minions crew signing off. You guys have a good one.
Vikings a doo-doo head. There you go. I do it.